Coming home. Qowl. AVoice. 10. To Dowd or not to Dowd. Root of replacement theology. The psalm we are about to consider is the most relevant revelation for our time, especially as Yahowah is calling Yisra'el and Yehudah home. It presents Dowd as the chosen one, as the Son of God, as the Mashiach Messiah, as the King of Kings, as the embodiment of the Beryth covenant, and as someone so uniquely Kodesh set apart, he will become as brilliant as the sun in God's presence. By contrast, the Mizmor psalm condemns Shaul Paul, the principal author of the Christian New Testament, by name, depicting him as the most deceitful and damning individual in human history. The psalm, like the prophecy it parallels and augments in 2 Samuel 7, calls the demon-possessed founder of the Christian religion, the son of evil. As such, this is a referendum between the covenant and Christianity, between Dowd and the mythical Jesus. One choice is right, the other wrong. One is good, the other bad. One is the source of life while the other leads to death. God is annoyed, indeed angry, that so many have come to believe Shaul Paul when he deliberately, presumptuously, and erroneously transferred every promise he had made to his beloved son, Dowd David, to the misnomer, Jesus Christ. Therefore, after celebrating every nuance of the 89th Mizmor psalm, we are going to expose Paul's pathetic attempt at replacement theology. We will systematically condemn his overt perversions of the Word of God, refuting his approach to deifying his incarnation of Dionysus, the basis of the Christian, Jesus, while demeaning the actual Messiah, Dowd, such that the most interesting man in the world was reduced to a bumbling sperm donor. After being made aware of what Paul had to say and what he would write regarding Dowd, especially after reading this Mizmor psalm, sane individuals will come to love one and hate the other. To carry around the 89th psalm in the same book as Paul's epistles is schizophrenic. To trust God's inspiration of the Mizmor is to reject the entirety of the Christian New Testament. Speaking of disdain, in our transition from Paul's oral arguments against Dowd to his written appeal, we are going to systematically examine the conception of the Christian New Testament using the Gospel of Matthew as our test case. We will examine when it was written and by whom so that we have a better appreciation of the reasons behind its anti-Semitic undercurrent. Then we will turn our attention to the hideous nature of the church which is responsible for it. While you will find those segments of these chapters appalling, they are necessary. For others to appreciate the truth, we must obliterate the lies. If you are Jewish and reading this introduction to the 89th Mizmor, please do not turn away just because the party being condemned is the rabbi who created Christianity rather than Akiba who, for score of years later, became the father of Judaism by foisting a false messiah on his people. For one reason, the psalm's condemnation of Dowd's adversary will expose the reason Jews were harassed by imperial Rome in Judea and then by the Roman Catholic Church throughout Europe. And secondly, without Paul's portrayal of the imaginary Jesus Christ as the Messiah and Savior, Akiba would not have promoted another false Messiah in Simon Bar Kokhba. And without what Akiba wrought upon Jews through his false Messiah, there is no Judaism. Every strain of the religion practiced today was conceived during the diaspora and under the dark shadow of how one man's tragically errant claim led to the other man's catastrophic counter-proposal, damning 80 generations of Jews over 1,900 years. Let's be perfectly clear, there was no Jesus Christ. The Christian God is both myth and mythological, a blend of Odysseus and Dionysus masquerading under Dowd's titles and accolades. Paul and Paul simply misappropriated the many hundreds of prophecies pertaining to Dowd's accolades and accomplishments and moronically projected them onto their misnomer. And worse, the forefathers of rabbinic Judaism were so unaware and unappreciative of what Dowd had said and done, they failed to oppose and prevent the demon-possessed Shaul Paul get away with it. At great personal sacrifice, Dowd David earned our respect and admiration by fulfilling Pesach and Matzah leading to Bikurim in the Yabel year of 4000 Yah, 33 CE. The Basar corporeal body of the Son of God served as the Passover lamb. And then during the Mikra of unyeasted bread, the Nepesh soul of Hamashiach carried the guilt of every child of the covenant with him into Sheol hell, depositing it there, never to be seen again. The following morning, Yahowah's Ruach spirit and Dowd's Nepesh consciousness were reunited as the father's Bakar firstborn son celebrated Bikurim firstborn children. The fulfillment of the spring Moedim in year 4000 Yah was more vital and relevant than anything that had or would occur in human history, and yet, as a result of what Paul and Akiba would write to deny it, the world has been led away from God and deprived of individual and collective salvation for 1,990 years by the time of this writing. Theirs was the greatest crime ever perpetrated on God's people, greater even than removing Yahowah's name from his Torah, Nabi, Wa Mizmor. The 89th Psalm is Yahowah's response to how his son would be slighted and his people deprived, albeit written 1,000 years before it occurred. Before we commence our journey through the lyrics of this song, let's consider the big picture. The underlying premise of Judaism is as preposterous as the proposition upon which Christianity is predicated. To be a religious Jew, you have to agree with the rabbis, especially Akiba, that Yahowah was such a poor communicator that he cannot be understood apart from rabbinical interpretations. You have to believe that the Torah was so inadequate that, without rabbinical explanations, which are tantamount to religious laws, its instructions are not applicable to people's lives. You have to think that the most respectful treatment of God's name is to eliminate it from his testimony. And then, you have to consent to the proposition that Rabbi Akiba, the man who knowingly forced a false messiah upon his people, who murdered and maimed Jews who didn't capitulate to his authority, and whose uprising against Rome led to millions of Yehudim being either crucified or sold into slavery, creating the diaspora, was trustworthy and should be followed over Yahowah. If you are religious and haven't thought this through, shame on you. If you have and don't care, then your apathy will be your undoing. If you are a Christian, it means that you believe that God does not care what you call him. It means that Yahowah is an abject failure whose promises are unreliable. You have to believe that God's plan, the one he formulated and shared in his Torah, is antiquated and inadequate, absolutely incapable of saving anyone. And then, you must think that God simply gave up and authorized an egotistical, dishonest, irrational, and murderous man to fix these problems by either annulling or misappropriating everything he had said, such that the result, which is entirely contradictory, is somehow credible. Judaism is nothing more than the desperate attempt by rabbis to control Jews while under the foreboding shadow of imperial Rome as it evolved into the Roman Catholic Church. One lie led to another, to the extent the truth was no longer recognizable to anyone. And that is what we are going to resolve by confronting the inspired testimony of the 89th Mizmor. The way home begins with the recognition of who Dowd is, what he wrote, what he accomplished, and what he represents to us yesterday, today, and tomorrow. As important as Moseh was in his role of bringing us Yahuwah's Torah while liberating Yahuwah's people from human oppression, Dowd is more relevant. He is our Savior. The 89th Psalm begins by revealing that it will be presenting insights that we would be wise to contemplate because they apply to the everlasting and native-born strong arm of God. Then the psalmist focuses on a concept Christians, Jews, and Muslims are wont to ignore: Yahuwah is loving and merciful because he is trustworthy and dependable. This realization negates the supplemental and replacement texts of the Talmud, Zohar, New Testament, and Quran. They, by presenting a different approach, that of a God who changes his mind on core issues and then relies on others to come up with an amended plan, which is the underlying premise of the New Testament, the Talmud, and the Quran, are thereby negating the consistency needed for Yah to be credible. God's promises are reliable because he never changes his approach. What he has promised remains true for all generations and for all time. To annul it and replace it with another plan, whether that be based upon faith, obedience, or submission, nullifies the means Yahuwah has chosen to be merciful. Let's begin. A poem of insights to contemplate and comprehend, Qowl, the lyrics to a song written to convey important ideas worthy of thoughtful consideration, a compound of to ponder the important questions regarding Sakal, being circumspect and prudent, gaining insights and prospering from them, paying attention to understand, and learning to comprehend, by, la, concerning, regarding, or through, Ithan constant and eternal, productive and established, Ithan, steadfast, steady, profuse, continuous, permanent, perpetual, and enduring, the Ezraki the beloved native-born strong arm, Ezraki, the loved one arising from the land who is prepared for battle by being properly girded, from Israq, strong arm and Chabab, the beloved and cherished. Mizmor/lyrics to sing/Psalm 89, Introduction and Dedication. Since there was a man who bore this name, an individual explicitly noted for his wisdom in Melachim/1 Kings 4 verse 31 who was a contemporary of Shalomo Solomon and, thus, someone who would have known Dowd and served as an eyewitness to his relationship with Yahuwah, it's likely that Ithan Ezraki was inspired by God to compose this Mizmor. And yet today, I suspect that it's what his name conveys to us that is more significant than his identity, the constant and eternal, productive and established witness to the beloved native-born strong arm of Yahuwah, aka Dowd. This revelation should be on everyone's lips and echoed throughout all time. I want to sing about SHYR. I have chosen to lift up my voice in song, genuinely ascribing my choice of lyrics to melodious sounds, accompanied by instruments, aesthetically conveying my ongoing desire, Cal in perfect cohortative, the eternal and everlasting love, steadfast devotion, enduring favoritism, unfailing affection, and genuine mercy, Chesed Alam, the perpetual relationship and kindness, the generosity and benefits forevermore, of Yahuwah, Yahuwah, an accurate transliteration of the name of Eloah, God guided by his Torah, instructions regarding his Haya, existence in our Shalom, reconciliation, on behalf of, regarding the approach of, all generations throughout time, Dower, the house and home, the dwelling place and successive encampments where people live and abide, the ongoing lineage, to everyone born into the same family line. With my mouth, Pa'eni, in my speech and means to communicate orally and verbally, I will make known, Yada, I will reveal, demonstrating that I am familiar with, and I will acknowledge, accept, appreciate, and show my understanding of, Hyphal imperfect, your trustworthiness and dependability, Immuna Ada, your honesty and reliability, your steadfast commitment to the truth, from Immune, the enduring truth and Vaman, to support, confirm, and uphold that which is trustworthy and reliable, verifiable and confirming that which is correct and accurate. Mizmor/lyrics to sing/Psalm 89 verse 1. Those who know Yahuwah realize that he is eternally loving, merciful, absolutely and invariably devoted to his family. His affection is everlasting, spanning the eons of time. And while that is all true, let it be known that Yahuwah reaches out to those he prefers over others. Such was the case with Adam and Chawah, Noach and his family, Abraham and Sarah, Yitzchak and Yaakov, the children of Yisra'el, Moseh and Aharon, Yahushua and Caleb, Shamuel and Eliah, but none to the extent of Dowd the beloved. And this song is about him. Yahuwah is also trustworthy. It's such a simple concept with such extraordinary implications. Rather than being all-loving, omnipresent, or omniscient, and thus irrelevant, he is honest and thus reliable. Nothing is more valuable to mankind than his steadfast commitment to the truth, along with the tools he has provided for us to independently verify that his words were inspired by a being unconstrained by space or time. If this were not true, it would not matter what else he had to say. This message was written for Dower every generation throughout time and pertains to the home and family of God. And when it comes to benefiting from these things, there is but one way, Yada knowing. Whatever you may believe is irrelevant, as are your opinions. All that matters is knowing, understanding, accepting, and then acknowledging the truth. Yes, indeed, KY, it is surely true that, I say, Amar, I expressed in words, declaring, and intending to say, Qowl perfect, now and forevermore, Aulam, eternally, the spiritual realm of the heavens, Shemaim, the abode of God in the seventh dimension, was established and is continually built to procreate a restored, prosperous, and productive family, Bana, was conceived and is constructed as a home to raise and fortify children, Nifel imperfect, on love, devotion, favoritism, kindness, generosity, and mercy, Chesed, affection and supportive benefits. You have fashioned and formed it to manifest within it, Kun Ba Hem, you have established and prepared for it, Hyphal imperfect, your authentic character, your trustworthiness and reliability, Immuna Ada, your validity and honesty, your dependability and steadfast commitment to the truth. Mizmor/lyrics to sing/Psalm 89 verse 2. Yahowah's entire purpose in creating the universe and life within it has been to, Bana, conceive children and build a family. His, Chesed, devotion to it and love for those who are part of it are, Aulam, everlasting. By having the psalmist begin by addressing the intent and nature of Yahowah's heavenly home in the seventh dimension, we realize that, by coming to better appreciate what Dowd has done for us, we are afforded the opportunity to join him there. The covenant's home in the heavens was built of love. It is a place for God's family to grow and thrive. And it is there that those who have come to know and trust Yahowah based upon his depiction of himself throughout the Torah and prophets will find that he is exactly as he has presented himself. Our heavenly Father is approachable and kind, lovable and genuine, welcoming and generous. He is also trustworthy, which means that we can rely upon everything he inspired his prophets to write on our behalf. When Yahowah says that he, Immuna, will establish and authenticate his trustworthiness and reliability in the spiritual realm of the heavens, he is telling us that we can count on him delivering on the promises he has made through the Beryth covenant and micro-EY invitations to meet, and through his son, Dowd. While he demonstrates that his word is reliable in the here and now through prophecy, it would be unwise for him to overexpose the benefits of heaven lest it attract people for the wrong reasons. What follows is now in Yahowah's voice. God equates Dowd the beloved with the Beryth covenant. God unequivocally states that Dowd is Labakar, the chosen one. This affirms that Yahowah, Shabat, swore an oath to Dowd because he is God's Ebed, co-worker. And that's important because Yahowah never reneges on a promise, a realization he will make irrefutable in a moment. God's statement reads, I have established, cutting through separation, I have created, making a resolution by cutting off, as is the case with circumcision, a solemn agreement between parties with stipulations, responsibilities, and benefits, Qowl perfect, the Beryth covenant for the family and home, Beryth, the family-oriented relationship agreement which brings individuals together with action, commitment, and engagement in accordance with the stipulations required of both parties to the agreement. Through my backer chosen one, La backer any, on behalf of and for the individual I have personally decided upon, having preferred and selected under the auspices of free will, the one I favor for a special relationship and affection, from Bahar, to choose and decide and back on, to test, examine, and scrutinize. I have sworn an oath, and I will affirm this promise 7 times over, Shabat, I have made a binding commitment and I will always uphold the truth of this vow, Nifel perfect, to Dowd, La Dowd, concerning the beloved, from Dowd, the one who is loved and who loves in return, my Ebed authorized agent and co-worker who serves on my behalf, Ebed any, my co-worker, associate, and servant, from Chabad, to work, Mizmor/lyrics to sing/Psalm 89 verse 3. Yahowah's opening declaration in Dowd's song is as inspiring as it is profoundly important. I have established, cutting through separation, the Beryth covenant for the family and home, Beryth, through any backer my chosen one, the person I prefer and have decided upon, La backer any. I have sworn an oath, and I will affirm this promise 7 times over, Shabat, to Dowd the beloved, La Dowd, Ebed any my authorized agent and co-worker who serves on my behalf, Ebed any. This declarative statement in God's voice reveals his nature, describes how he works, and presents what he is trying to achieve. It affirms that the Beryth covenant is foremost on his mind. This means that Yahowah's priority is to be our father and raise a family in his home by working with his son. The realization that the Beryth is cut and established through separation is relevant because God's home is distinctly different. It is unlike human renditions, particularly those portrayed by religion, popular culture, and politics. And because it is unique and, therefore, uncommon, to be part of it one must disavow the perceptions which have become universally accepted. Second, Beryth implies that there are some guiding principles associated with God's family. This highlights the fact that there are requirements for entry that must be met and benefits that are assured to those who accept them. As such, the covenant is a mutually beneficial agreement and participatory partnership. Third, the recognition that the Beryth family home is being established through Dowd means that the Messiah and Son of God was instrumental in the process. And since every covenant member accepts the conditions and receives the benefits of the Beryth, Dowd's life and lyrics exemplify the path to inclusion and, more importantly, he was instrumental in delivering the rewards. Further, the benefits of the covenant are derived from the Moedim, Pesach, Matzah, and Bikurim, which Dowd fulfilled. One of the many ways that Yahowah's Beryth differs from the human paradigm is that our Father gets to choose his children, and his potential sons and daughters are afforded the opportunity to accept or reject him. While men and women can decide to conceive children, there are no auditions and no checklists for preferred attitudes, attributes, or abilities. We get what comes out. By contrast, as Backer Chosen affirms, Yahowah selects, makes contact with, and introduces himself to those with the character and personality traits he prefers. Further, while we cannot choose our birth parents, we are blessed with free will when it comes to engaging in God's family. Volition is fundamental to all loving relationships and mutually respectful and beneficial partnerships. It is a gift of God and given for this reason. Yahowah makes a number of promises throughout the Torah, and he is committed to honoring all of them. The first were shared with Adam and then Noach, but the most vital of these were presented to Abraham during the covenant's inception. And now, God is affirming that he intends to honor those promises through Dowd, who will serve as his Ebed co-worker in fulfilling them. Therefore, since the benefits of the Beryth were demonstrated during the Yatzah, Exodus and delivered through the micro-EY invitations to be called out and meet, Father and Son fulfilled them together. By opening with Beryth, Yahowah has affirmed the purpose of creation and the reason for our existence. He is also sharing an insight into the nature of his relationship with Dowd. God wants to enjoy life's greatest blessing, raising a family and interacting with his children, starting with his favorite person, his son and our king. Since it is so essential to our understanding, please bear with me while I underscore the full implications of Karet. The verb speaks primarily of separation, letting us know that the covenant would be uncommon, separate and distinct from the popular religious rhetoric and political platitudes of men. To become part of the Beryth, one has to cease being party to anything which competes with it or contradicts it, and therefore, we must disassociate ourselves from progressive nonsense, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. In that the primary definition of Karet is to cut, it exemplifies the sign of the covenant which is circumcision. And it demonstrates that we are to be set apart. Here and elsewhere, the Beryth covenant family is singular. We are either participants in the one Yahowah created with Abraham and enabled through Dowd, or we are estranged from God. In spite of rabbinical protestations and Christian proclamations, there is no covenant with Judaism nor is there a new covenant. Also, we should remain cognizant of the context. God preceded this pronouncement about the role Dowd plays in his covenant by inspiriting the psalmist to affirm that he conceived the heavens to procreate and restore his family. He explained that his home was predicated on love. And then he inspired his lyricist to say that we would be wise to trust and rely upon his testimony in this regard. This then leads to the bold declaration about Dowd being Yahowah's Bahar chosen one through whom he would establish his family and bring his people home. By stating, La Bakar Eni, with my chosen one, Yahowah has affirmed the paramount importance of free will. He also confirmed that it works both ways. God can choose to include or exclude whomever he wishes within his family just as we are free to express our desire to be adopted therein. In harmony with this paradigm, our Heavenly Father is reinforcing something about the relationship we have long known but few appreciate. In almost every case God initiates contact, choosing the individuals he wants to be part of his family. One way or another, Yahowah reaches out to individuals along life's way and introduces himself. How we respond and reciprocate determines our future. Since we know that Dowd was off tending sheep in Bethlehem and walked to Shamuel when called, he had left his father's house, just as Abraham had walked away from the cultural, religious, and political milieu of Babylon. Therefore, those seeking an introduction should now be aware, we can confidently extrapolate from Dowd what we should likewise do for ourselves, because Yahowah's statements about Dowd reveal that he is the living embodiment of the covenant. This is the same covenant with the same conditions and benefits that Yahowah presented in Beryth Genesis, devoting much of its text to how it was developed with Abraham, Sarah, and then Yitzhak. It's the same covenant Yahowah codified, designating his stipulations and allowances in his Torah presented to Moseh. It is the same covenant that was affirmed with Yaakov. Therefore, our Heavenly Father is acknowledging that Dowd holds a special place within his family. Through this affirmation, Yahowah is saying that Dowd personifies the qualities he values. As a result, we can enhance our standing with God, indeed our value to God, by applying what Dowd wrote to our lives. More than this, it is Yahowah's universe and the heavens are his as well. He is not only entitled to choose who lives within them, he has chosen the person through whom our inclusion is possible. What this means for us is that we are not free to replace his choice with another, as in Jesus, or pretend there is another gatekeeper, as is the case with Judaism and Catholicism. Yahowah's declaration eliminates that possibility that he has any association with Judaism or Christianity. He did not choose any of the individuals responsible for these religious deceptions, which may be why they fail to acknowledge Dowd's contribution to our lives. If we want to be part of Yahowah's covenant, we do so through Dowd or not at all. And that is as monumental a pronouncement as was the creation of the universe. It is fairly uncommon for God to swear an oath to men, so when he says, Shabat, Dowd, I have sworn an oath and I will affirm this promise 7 times over with Dowd, we ought to pay attention so that we come to understand the dynamics behind his calculus and benefit accordingly. For example, our acceptance of the covenant's terms will lead to its benefits because they were enabled by Yahowah working through Dowd to fulfill the Moedim. And that explains why Yahowah delivered upon his promise 7 times. Therefore, there would be 7 affirmations of this vow. Dowd not only worked with Yahowah to fulfill Pesach, Matzah, and Bikurim in the Yobel year of 4000 Yah in 33 CE, he enabled the Shabuah and Teruah harvests prior to his return on Kippurim to enjoy Sukkah. They are a father and son team. We don't have to look beyond the next word to appreciate one of the things that made Yah's favorite son special. Yahowah presents Dowd as Ebed Eni, my associate and co-worker who serves with me. This in turn reinforces something which should be obvious to all of us. Rather than imposing himself upon his creation, God searches out individuals who will respond to his invitation, allowing him to work through us for our mutual benefit. Patiently and parentally, he prepares his children such that we can be about our Father's business. It is one of the most remarkable and endearing aspects of God's nature. And while that's all true, it is especially so with Dowd. During the most important acts in the history of man's relationship with God, Dowd was there. He fulfilled Passover with his basar corporeal body serving as the sacrificial lamb. During unyeasted bread, Dowd's Nepesh soul carried the guilt of every child of the covenant into Sheol hell and left it there, never to be seen again. The result was firstborn children, with Yahowah's Bakar firstborn son leading the way home. Having paid the price to redeem us, Dowd's perfected soul was reunited with the Ruach Kodesh set-apart spirit and escorted back to heaven where he became the first to receive the benefits of Bikurim firstborn children. As a result, we are sufficiently enriched and enlightened to engage in the Shabuah. Sevens harvest and trumpet his return for his people during Teruah, calling Yehudim home. Our focus is on heralding the chosen one's role in our salvation so that God's people are prepared for Dowd's return on the day of reconciliations to be king of shelters. That's a lot to learn from one name, one noun, two verbs, and two titles. I have established, cutting through separation, the Beryth covenant for the family and home, Beryth, through any backer my chosen one, the person I prefer and have decided upon, any. I have sworn an oath, and I will affirm this promise 7 times over, Shabat, to Dowd the beloved, Dowd, any my authorized agent and co-worker who serves on my behalf, any. Recognizing that the following pronouns, prepositions, and conjunctions were integral to these verbs and nouns in the Hebrew text, let's see what we can learn from the next 6. Forevermore, as an eternal witness to the restoring testimony, olam, to provide never-ending guidance on reconciliation throughout time, I will prepare and establish, kun, I will appoint, equip, develop, support, and sustain, full and perfect, your offspring and that which you sow, zera, ada, your seed and what you have sown, your children and descendants, your posterity and family, even your ethnicity and the yield of what you plant. In addition, I will construct a home, wabana, I will establish based upon the son, procreating a family by restoring and fortifying the resulting children, showing the maternal influence on building up, for your throne and seat of honor, kais, ada, your authority and authorization, your place of respect, and your right to lead, on behalf of all generations throughout time, wadower, regarding the approach of every related child, and concerning the house, the home, and the dwelling. Place of successive encampments where people live and abide within the same family, Mizmor/lyrics to sing Psalm 89 verse 4 in part. Dowd not only provides everlasting testimony through the lyrics of his songs, but also his life serves as a restoring witness. What he has sown, we can reap. And in the covenant, we can become his heirs. Beyond this, there is but one throne in heaven, one universal seat of honor, and it was constructed by Yahowah for his son, Dowd. There is no seat of honor for Jesus, Paul, or Peter, none for Akiba, Maimonides, or Muhammad, although there is one in Sheol hell for the final 5 on this list. Myths are exempt since they, like Jesus, are without souls. We have every reason to suspect that both the verbal and the noun aspects of zera, sowing seeds, and offspring, were intended and that one invariably leads to the other when the seeds are properly tended and cultivated. As such, we'd be wise to consider both Dowd's life and his lyrics because they lead to the same amazing place. In this light, Zeroah, sacrificial lamb is based upon zera. And this may be the most magnificent and revealing of Dowd's titles and accolades. Zera is also the fulcrum upon which the perversions associated with the villain in this story rise and fall. As the Hebrew word for seed and seeds, it can be accurately translated as offspring, children, descendants, posterity, family, and progeny, as a noun. As a verb, zera speaks of sowing seeds, both literally and symbolically. It is from the verbal implication of sowing seeds that we come to appreciate the fact that, as is the case in English, to seed is to plant many seeds, just as a bag of seed contains hundreds if not thousands of them. Nonetheless, Shaul will attempt to base his religion on the notion that seed is singular, so we ought to be aware of zera's implications. In spite of the obvious plural connotations of seed and of its translation as offspring, descendants, posterity, and children, Paul claimed that the Torah could be ignored because Jesus Christ was the promised seed, singular, of Abraham and Dowd. In his twisted mind, nothing mattered before, during the interim, or since his mythical misnomer, Jesus Christ, was born. According to Paul, everything God had to say and did could be ignored by those who put their faith in his assessment. Validating our earlier acknowledgement that the seeds Dowd had sown through his lyrics were as important as the offspring he brought into the covenant family, Yahowah said that he has made Dowd an alam, eternal witness, such that zera, his seed and whatever he sows, will be developed into a family and home, on behalf of dower, every generation and time. This negates any possibility of a person named Jesus fulfilling this or any other promise. Returning to the heart of the 89th Mizmor, the realization that Yahowah is constructing a home for his son, Dowd, is absolutely essential to our understanding of Yahowah and his relationship with us. In the manner of a father, and in defiance of humanly conceived gods, our Heavenly Father is declaring that he is taking responsibility for raising and protecting, indeed, advocating on behalf of and lifting up his son. And what he has accomplished with and for Dowd, through the covenant, they will do for us. Once we grasp this fundamental truth, rather than attempt the impossible and lift God up in praise, we ought to let father and son do what they have made possible. Our needs and his desire for our lives coalesce when we allow our Father to raise us as his children. This is the purpose of the Torah's guidance and the reason the covenant exists. With this understanding, how is it that, after God created this universe for us to enjoy, we humans are so full of ourselves that we have built not one, but hundreds of thousands of houses for God? Stupid is as stupid does. Selah, pause now and contemplate the implications. Selah, take a moment to consider what has just been conveyed prior to moving on. Mizmor/lyrics to sing Psalm 89 verse 4, and, therefore, Yahowah's opening salvo in Dowd's song bears repeating. I have established, cutting through separation, the Beryth covenant for the family and home, Beryth, through any backer my chosen one, the person I prefer and have decided upon, any. I have sworn an oath, and I will affirm this promise 7 times over, Shabat, to Dowd the beloved, Dowd, any my authorized agent and co-worker who serves on my behalf, any. Forevermore, as an alam eternal witness to the restoring testimony, alam, I will prepare and establish, kun, your offspring and that which you sow, zera, ada. In addition, I will construct a home, wabana, for your throne and seat of honor, kais, ada, on behalf of all generations throughout time, wadower. Contemplating Dowd's contribution to building Yahowah's home became the very thing that caused me to reconsider the prophecy upon which my curiosity with, and later devotion to, Yahowah's testimony began. And if you'll join me, we will discover that there are some amazing parallels between the 89th Mizmor and the initially perplexing narrative found in Shamuel/Listen to Him/2 Samuel 7. Included among them is the fact that they are both devoted to teaching us that Yahowah is responsible for building a home for his family and not the other way around. Now that we have come to know so much more about Yahowah's relationship with Dowd and realize that we are about to confront his adversary, the son of evil, let's go back to where it all began over a score of years ago. Speaking of homes, of mans and gods, Zerah, seed sown, Ben sons, and positions of honor. It came to pass, YAHOWAH, when the king sat down and relaxed in his home, Hamelech Yashab Beryth, because Yahowah, YYV1C10, had given him comforting respite, Nuwaklahu, from his adversaries and rancorous foes, Min Sabib Min Qowl Oyebhu, Shamuel 2:7:1, that the king said, Wa Amar Hamelech, to Nathan, the prophet, El Nathan Hanabi, please look around, Ariana. I live, Anaki Yashab, in a house of cedar, Beth Erez, but the ark of God, Wa around Ha Elohim, sits within curtains, Yashab Tak Ha Yeria. Shamuel 2:7:2. So, Nathan said to the king, Wa Amar Nathan, El Hamelech, choose to go and do all that is in your best judgment, Kol Asher Lebab Ada, because, surely, Yahowah is with you, Yahowah, Ada. Shamuel 2:7:3, however, that evening, Wahaya Halaylahahu, the word of Yahowah came to Nathan, Daber Yahowah Haya, El Nathan. He conveyed, La Amar, Shamuel 2:7:4, go and tell, Halak Wa Amar, El, Dowd, my co-worker, Dowd Ebed Eni, that this is what Yahowah says, Ko Yahowah Amar. Why should you build me a home to live in, Ha Adabana La Eni Beth La Yashab Eni? Shamuel 2:7:5. Indeed, I have not lived, lo, Yashab, in a house, Beth, since the time, Wa Min Yaum, that I lifted up to be with me, Allah Eni, the children of Yisra'el, Beni Yisra'el, out of the crucibles of oppression in Mitzrayim, Min Mitzrayim. Then as an ongoing witness to the restoring testimony, up to, this day, Hayam Hazeh, I have been moving about, Wahaya Halak, in a tent dwelling as a tabernacle and home, Ohol Wa Mishkan. Shamuel 2:7:6. During any of that time, when showing the way to the benefits of the relationship, that, Kol Asher, I traveled, Halak, with all of the children of Yisra'el, Kol Beni Yisra'el, did I say a single word, Ha Daber, to one, Ekad, of the leaders of the tribes of Yisra'el, Shebet Yisra'el, whom I instructed, Asher Saw, to shepherd, Lara, my people, Eni, Yisra'el, to say, La Amar, so why not, Lama Lo, build for me a house of cedar, Bana La Eni. Beth Erez. Shamuel 2:7:7. Now, therefore, this is what you should say, Ko Amar, to my associate, Dowd, La Ebed Eni La Dowd, as a result, Ko, Yahowah of the spiritual implements, Yahowah Tsaba, says, Amar, I took you, Eni Lakach Ada, from the sheepfolds, Min Hanua, from chasing after lambs, Min Hachar Hatsoan, to be the conspicuous and informative leader, La Haya Najid, among my people, Al Am Eni, over Yisra'el, Al Yisra'el. Shamuel 2:7:8. I have been with you, Wahaya Ada, throughout it all, Kol, revealing the benefits of the relationship, Asher, as you journeyed through life, Halak. I have cut off, accordingly, all of your enemies, Kol Oyeb Ada, from your presence, Min Pana Ada. And I have engaged on your behalf to make for you, Asala Ada, an exceptionally important name, the greatest designation, and the most distinguished reputation, Shem Hagadal, when compared to the most glorified designations, Kashem Hagadal, pursuant to the relationship, Asher, on the earth, Ha'eretz. Shamuel 2:7:9. Furthermore, I will appoint and establish, a dwelling place, Mekam, for my people, Laham Eni, Yisra'el, La Yisra'el. I will plant them, Wanada, such that they may abide, Washakan, below throughout a less chaotic time than this, Takhathu, and no longer be agitated, anguished, or terrorized, Ragas out. They will not continue to be, Lo, Yasaf, afflicted or degraded, disparaged or denigrated, Anna, by unjust and harmful sons, perverted and violent descendants of evil, Beni, Allah, as will have formerly been the case, Ka Asher Ba Harishon. Shamuel 2:7-10. From the day, Min Hayam, which, for the benefit of the relationship, Asher, I appointed and instructed, judges, Shapat, on behalf of my people, Al Am Eni, Yisra'el, I will provide a respite, Nuwakla Ada, from all of your enemies, Min Kol Oyeb Ada. In addition, Yahowah, is boldly and publicly announcing to you, Nagad La Ada, that, indeed, he will act, engaging with you to create the family and home of Yahowah, Beth Asa La Ada Yahowah. Shamuel 2:7-11. Surely, your time will be thoroughly proclaimed and completely fulfilled, male, Yaumim Ada. When you will have laid down your life, Washakab, in association with your ancestors, of Ada, I will rise up and take a stand to bring to fruition, with your offspring what you have sown, Zerah Ada, something more in the end without hesitation for you, Achar Ada. For the benefit of the relationship, Asher, it will be extracted and withdrawn, Yatsa, out of a small particle of your physiological nature, Min Mia. After foreshadowing the 89th Mizmor by speaking to his son, Yahowah transitions to speaking to us about him. And so, I will establish, Kun, his reign over his kingdom, Memlakahu. Shamuel 2:7-12, he, himself, shall restore and rebuild, Bana, the family home, Beryth, for, La, my name, Shem, Eni. And, Wa, I will prepare and establish, Kun, the throne, Kais, of his kingdom, Mamlakahu, forevermore as a continuing witness, ad Aulam. Shamuel 2, 7:13. I was, I am, and I always will be, Eni Haya, for him, Lahu, as a father, La, of, and, Wa, he was, is, and always will be, Hu, Haya, for me as, La, Eni, a son, La Ben. So when that which is associated with him is warped and perverted, twisted such that it is contrary to what has been stated, Asher Ba-Awahu, I will resolve the dispute against him, vindicating him, deciding with him to expose and issue a condemnation, Wayakahu, against the weapons and staves wielded by rulers of the nations, Ba-Shebet, of men, Ishim, and against, Wa-Ba, the fungus and plague that has fallen, Nega, upon the descendants, Ben, of Adam. Shamuel 2, 7:14. And herein is a perfect explanation of the religious crusade to transfer the promises made to the Messiah to create a Christ. God was not a fan. Therefore, my steadfast devotion, enduring love, commitment to the relationship, and unmitigated favor, Chesed Eni, will not be removed from him, be disassociated or diminished regarding him, nor replaced, substituting another for him, lo, Sur Minhu, as was the case when, Asher, I turned away from and completely rejected, Sur Min, associating with, Shayol, whom, to show the proper way, Asher, I removed, Sur, from your presence, Min Lapana, Ada. Shamuel 2, 7:15. Speaking directly to Dowd again, God concludes. And so, your family, Beryth, Ada, and, your position of authority, your kingdom and reign, Malaka, Ada, are assured, as it is trustworthy and dependable, firmly established, credible, and enduring, Aman, forever as a continuing witness, ad Aulam, in my presence, Lapana, Ada. Your throne and seat of honor, Kais, Ada, will be, Haya, established and sustained, Kun, forevermore as restoring testimony, ad Aulam. Shamuel 2, 7:16. Consistent with all of these words, Qowl ha-dabrim ha-ele, and in accord with, the entire revelation, Qowl ha-chizion hazeh, in this manner, Nathan accurately conveyed this, Ken Dabber Nathan, to Dowd, Dowd. Shamuel/listen to him/ 2 Samuel 7 verse 17. This prophecy is about houses, who builds them and who lives in them. It is about Dowd, who had a home, not Jesus, who was homeless throughout the myths scribed about him. It is all about what God is going to do for, with, and through his beloved Son. It is also about seeds and thrones, who sows them and who sits upon them. And when it comes to such things, Yahowah is beside himself, annoyed to the point that he has made his point in such a vivid way there shouldn't have been a single church, mosque, temple, or shrine called a house of God, and yet, men have erected millions of them. Just as God has never once asked us to worship him, bow down before him, or pray to him, he does not want us to build houses for him. The fact is, Yahowah is in the construction business, and his primary expertise is in building the most extraordinary home in the universe for his covenant family. Having returned to the prophecy where my journey began some 22 years ago, with Asher, associated with, in 2 Shamuel 7:14, we have found the obvious answer to whose home and throne is being established. It is unequivocally delineated here in the 89th Mizmor. Therefore, 2 Samuel 7 is about Dowd from beginning to end just as is the 89th Psalm. It is Dowd's place of honor and kingdom which will endure forever as is affirmed throughout the prophets. Further, it is of Dowd of whom Yahowah has said, he is my son and I am his father, something the 89th Mizmor will soon reiterate. It wasn't until many years after my initial quest to understand Asher in 2 Samuel 7 verse 14 that I came to realize that God was speaking of what Paul would do to pervert and misappropriate Dowd's legacy. And in this regard, Yahowah has put us on notice that he will defend his son. Along these lines I'd like to reinforce something equally germane to our understanding of 2 Shamuel 7 and our appreciation of Mizmor 89, both of which celebrate the father/son relationship paramount to the life of the king of Yisra'el. Dowd represents more than one individual man. More perhaps than even Jacob, Dowd is Yisra'el. His joys and heartaches, his ongoing battles with Gollum, his insights and errors, the benefits he enjoyed in concert with the covenant, and the consequences he endured when he ran afoul of it are all shared in common with the nation he shepherded. After this brief intermission, one instructed by the text of the Mizmor, we return to the voice of the psalmist. This portion of the song was written to counter the absurd notion that the gods of men, such as Adoni, the Lord, Hashem, Allah, and Jesus are somehow analogous with and comparable to Yahowah. Mankind's gods were modeled after the men who spoke for them. They were afforded characteristics which were sufficiently fearsome to command obedience by blending a plethora of seemingly plausible yet irrational notions. The spiritual realm, Shemaim, the heavens and abode of God, knows and appreciates, Yada, are aware and understand and thus extol, properly attributing and expressing gratitude, from Yada, to know, recognize, and acknowledge, Hyphal and perfect, your wonderful and marvelous contributions, Pale, Ada, your amazing accomplishments and outstanding achievements, even miraculous fulfillments, Yahowah, Yahowah, the proper pronunciation of the name of Eloah, God as directed in his Torah. Teaching regarding his higher existence in our shalom, restoration, and, also, in addition to, your trustworthiness, Imuna Ada, your honesty and dependability, your steadfast commitment to the truth, from, Imun, the enduring truth and Haman, to support, confirm, and uphold that which is trustworthy and reliable, verifiable and confirming that which is correct and accurate, in the community, Ba Kahal, within the gathering and assembly, of the set-apart, Kodesh. The separated and dedicated with essential divine qualities and status. Mizmor/Psalm 89 verse 5. By contrast, KY, truthfully, who, my, in the skies of the material realm, BA Hashachak, among the stars in the heavens, can be equated, Barak, can be put in the same position or compared, to, La, Yahowah, Yahowah. Who is similar to or thinks like, Dama, who resembles and communicates like, Yahowah, Yahowah, among the sons of gods, BA Ben, Hel, in those conceived by gods. Mizmor/lyrics to sing/Psalm 89 verse 6. It's a riddle with a ridiculously easy answer. The one who is equated with Yahowah, the one who thinks like Yahowah, especially among the children of God, is Dowd. He is the man after Yah's heart. The affirmation appears in Shamuel/listen to him/1 Samuel 13 verse 14, a passage we will consider later on in these chapters as we seek to refute the ill effects of Christianity. And while that is true, this proclamation was designed to set up a comparison between the wonderful accomplishments of Yahowah which are acknowledged in heaven contrasted with the meaningless myths attributed to the sons of gods conceived within the material realm, Dionysus and Jesus being among the impostors. The words men have attributed to them pale in comparison to the majesty of Yahowah's message. If asked to uphold the single most important aspect of Yahowah's character and his greatest contribution to humankind, I'd say, trustworthiness. Without it, nothing else matters. Proving it is the purpose of the Nabi, as they validate the credibility of Yah's inspiration. Enabling it is the purpose of the Torah because, without guidance, there can be no trust. And with it, contradictory scriptures and false gods are rendered moot. Yahowah's contributions are many. He created an enormously large, complex, and yet functional, six-dimensional universe. He conceived life, writing a three-dimensional language to propagate countless possibilities. He gave us free will and a conscience to wield it. He designed us so that we be able to understand him and respond. Then he not only gave us his Torah and prophets, but he and his son also fulfilled every promise. We aren't explicitly told, but I think the community of the set apart represents the covenant family. The covenant is not only Kodesh set apart, but our Heavenly Father's children are the principal beneficiaries of his steadfast commitment to the truth. Among the most ignorant and irrational notions popularized by man is that we all worship the same God. The actual God begs to differ. Religious gods are fundamentally different from one another, and so are their scriptures and names, making this religiously unifying belief ludicrous. What's more, the traits common among false gods are universally foreign to Yahowah. Said another way, aligning our thinking with Yahowah necessitates a willingness to reject all religious presumptions. God, El, the Almighty, is inspiring and awesome, Eretz, he is a well-regarded and awe-inspiring, exceedingly productive and accomplished, in the council, B.A. Sod, within the intimate fellowship where there is a foundation of trust, discretion, a conclave of proper instruction and mutual reliance, of the set-apart ones, Kadoshim, of those who are separated and exalted, tremendously great while inspiring reverence and respect, Rab Wayar, beyond all those around him, Al-Kol Sabib. Above everyone surrounding him. Mizmor/lyrics to sing/Psalm 89 verse 7. To know Yahowah is to respect him. To understand Yahowah is to revere him. Yahowah, Yahowah, the proper pronunciation of the name of Eloah, God as directed in his Torah, teaching, God, Elohim, of the vast array of spiritual implements, Saba, of the heavenly messengers, who and what, my, encouraging the listener to ponder and evaluate if anything, is comparable to your, Kamo Ada, can be considered similar to your, awesome power and extraordinary gifts, Chazan, strength, value, and treasure, addressing God's capability and what he has to offer, from Chasen, to be treasured and to offer value, which are all around you, Sabib, Ada, round about you, Yahowah, Yahowah, including, Wah, in addition to, your unwavering commitment to the truth, Imuna, Ada, your honesty and dependability, your reliability and trustworthiness, from, Immun, the enduring truth and Aman, to support, confirm, and uphold that which is trustworthy and reliable, verifiable and confirming that which is correct and accurate. Mizmor/lyrics to sing/Psalm 89 verse 8. It's a rhetorical question, and yet, as few as 1 in a million know the simple answer. Most don't even know where to look to find it. This is now the fourth time we have seen Imuna, trustworthiness, used to either describe Yahowah or to affirm that it is among his gifts to us. It appears in Psalm 89:1, 89:2, 89:5, and now here in 89:8. Not surprisingly, we will encounter Imuna for more times, in Mizmor 89:14, 89:24, 89:33, and finally in 89:49, bringing the total to 8, the number equated to that which is infinite and eternal. Dowd's life and lyrics provide the antidote for Pauline Christianity and Rabbinic Judaism. Trust is the remedy for faith. Those who know, rely. Those who don't, believe. Trust is empowering, enlightening, enriching, and liberating while faith devalues, bewilders, depreciates, and ensnares. Having now established the proper vantage point to appreciate Yahowah, the psalmist specifically targets a pervasive and improper approach, one whose destructive nature arises from the sea, a metaphor for Gowan Gentiles. You have conveyed vivid parables, Adam Mashal, you have created easily remembered proverbs, which are word pictures, in regard to establishing one ruler, over the raging devastation and presumptive arrogance, BAGEF, the undue and unwarranted status and moral failures along with the violent agitation associated with the surging, of the sea, Hayam, of the west, serving as a metaphor for Gowan, both nations and people. When its turbulent and surging waves rise up in deceit, BA NASA/Nashak Galhu, when its stormy conditions and strong currents which are contaminated with biological excrement and defiling human dung are roused using clever trickery to craft delusions, you expose them and stop them, Ada Shabakhem, you assert what is factually accurate about them, stilling them. Mizmor/lyrics to sing/Psalm 89 verse 9. The most popular belief systems among Gentiles are Roman Catholicism, Orthodox and Protestant Christianity, Sunni and Shia Islam, progressive socialist humanism, and Hinduism. From God's perspective, they are not only presumptive, holding unwarranted status, and deceitful, they are predicted to become ever more turbulent. They will collectively rise up and seek to erode Israel based upon the strong undercurrents which have contaminated people's thinking, deceiving them. For example, the majority have been led to believe there is a place called Palestine, and that oppressive Jews are occupying land which belongs to Palestinians. We have endeavored to expose this myth, but only Yah can stop these miserable parasites. Now that the stage has been set, the cast must be introduced before the battle begins. And in this drama, there is a villain and a hero. You humbled and crushed, Adadaka, you rejected and defeated the oppressor, shattering while making contrite the slander of, that which is comparable to the reprehensible and deadly nature of, Ka-ha-chalal, the profane and popular associations which as a result of one person pressing his agenda are overwhelming and fatal, from Hala, to defile, the pretentious pride and stormy arrogance of the boisterous afflictor and his false god, Rahab, the haughtiness and frenzied activity of the insolent and audacious one who presses his contentious and opposing plea, the defiant and confused musings associated with emboldened verbal calls for religious worship and submission, along with the senseless behavior and insubordinate taunts of the self-willed one who falsely claims divine authorization in concert with the monstrous sea and idolatry, with your empowered and fortified, Ada, by way of your mentally acute, physically strong, and psychologically prepared, Yisra'el. Protective shepherd and sacrificial lamb. Yisra'el, productive shepherd and strong arm who prevails because he is effective, fully resolved with the overall ability to accomplish the mission, the remarkably important and impactful individual of action who, as a leader and fighter is engaged as a shepherd among his sheep, who is fruitful in his ways, especially when sowing the seeds of truth while denoting and advancing the purpose of the arm of God, of his shepherd and sacrificial lamb. You isolate and separate, Pazer, you disperse in divergent directions, your adversaries, Oyeb Ada, those who are opposed and hostile toward you, demonstrating animosity, enmity, and rancor with regard to you. Mizmor/lyrics to sing/Psalm 89 verse 10. Since Yahowah isn't pretentious, when arrogant men cop an attitude, God finds it annoying. As a result, he is going to crush the conceited, shattering those who seek to defeat his people. Hala reprehensible and deadly and Rahab insolent and arrogant pleas are both singular and, thus, focused on one person, nation, or religion. And yet, since Chalal addresses that which is profane and thus common, and Ka implies a broad association, this individual or institution has had a defiling and fatal influence over millions if not billions. Their contentious pleas, reprehensible agendas, and deadly consequences became universal. Moreover, since God's concern is always for his people, any man, country, or faith which sickens those influenced by him or it will be destroyed for having sought to harm Yisra'el. We have a number of options regarding Rahab in that Paul, Akiba, and Muhammad all qualify, as does Hadrian. They were presumptuous and pretentious, easily enraged and undisciplined. All four were annoyingly boisterous in their audacious promotion of false gods. Their confused musings and contentious pleas have led to senseless claims and behavior the world over. Their effect on those who foolishly believe them has been devastating and deadly. Each has inspired frenzied and senseless behavior, as well as an undeserved sense of superiority. All four promoted false gods, religious worship, and submission. However, since Paul, Akiba, Muhammad, and Hadrian are Hala, dead, it is their reprehensible, confused, and fatal religious legacy that Yahowah is going to crush. The leadership and devotees of Christianity, Judaism, Islam, and in particular, Roman Catholicism have been forewarned. There are two principal and one supportive Yisra'el, Moseh, Dowd, and Yada, the mightiest of whom is Dowd. He is the one being deployed to crush Yisrael's foremost adversaries, the aforementioned religions. This remarkable title is based upon Zerah, to sow seeds. As we have learned, these seeds can be sown to disseminate the truth and produce nurturing results, including an ample harvest. In addition, Zerah speaks of offspring and conceiving a family. In this way, Yisra'el conveys the fruit of the Torah, the Mizmor, and the Mikri, and thus of Moseh and Dowd. I was not being presumptuous in saying that of the three candidates for returning hero, Dowd was the best fit because Yahowah's Yisra'el is an empowered and fortified, mentally acute, physically strong, and psychologically prepared shepherd. He was also ready, willing, and able to serve as the sacrificial lamb. And in this way, Dowd is like none other. He is the ultimate hero and the savior of his people. The reference to Pazer Oyeb, isolating and separating adversaries, could mean that God is going to divide and conquer, separating Muslims from Christians and both from secular humanists. It could also indicate that he is simply going to isolate every party and creed, dispersing them from his presence. What follows seems to suggest that Yahowah is justified in crushing his adversaries because the world is not only his, he must do as he has promised to protect his children. If he did not do so, he would cease to be loving. The spiritual realm of the heavens, Shemaim, the abode of God in the seventh dimension, is yours, La Ada, are for you and to approach you. The material realm, Eretz, the land, the world, Tebel, the earth, and all that is in it, Wamalo high, as well as the multitude of things that fill this space, is also yours, Afla Ada, additionally exists on your behalf, and on our behalf, enabling us to approach you. You laid the foundation for them and created them, Ada Yasad you established and constituted them. Mizmor 89:11, the north, Tsaphoun, the place where treasure is taken and hidden, and, Wa, the south, Yaman, the right side, you have created them, Adabara, you conceived them and brought them into existence. Tabor the broken, Tabor, the shattered, crippled, and crushed, a high hill in Lower Galilee, location of the battle Deborah and Barak waged against the Canaanites, the presumed location of the Mount of Transfiguration, and the location where, in 55 CE, 10,000 Yehudim were slaughtered by the Romans, and then countless more in 66 CE by Emperor Vespasian. Later Muslims and Crusaders fought there. From Tabar and Shabar, to be broken down and violently maimed, and, Chermon the band. And exterminated, Chermon, the accursed, mutilated, and destroyed, a mountain in the Golan along the Yisra'el, Syrian, and Lebanese border, the site of intense battles in the Six-Day War, 1967, and Yom Kippur War, 1973, against Muslims, now serves as an Israeli observation post to monitor the Syrian and Lebanese jihadists. This word was incorporated into Arabic and used to denigrate, ban, and curse Jews, from charam, to prohibit and utterly destroy, dedicating to extermination, shout for joy. Ranan. Loudly, happily, melodiously, and publicly call out, in your name, B.A. Shem, Ada, with your proper designation. Mizmor/lyrics to sing/Psalm 89 verse 12. This distinction is vitally important, and yet, it is missed by religious adherents. Yes, a day will come when Yahowah and his Zerah will use their words mashal demonstrably and vividly to rule over the devastating arrogance of the Yam, which serves as a metaphor for anti-Semitic Gentiles. Father and son will Shabak expose and stop Nasa, Gal those who have arisen by crafting deceitful delusions pertaining to them. On that day, Yahowah and Dowd will Daka reject and defeat the Qowl reprehensible and deadly nature of Rahab the pretentious afflictor and his false god, bringing the Zerah, strong arm of God down upon them to possess isolate fathers and sons, Oyeb foes. And they will have every right to do so because it is their world, all of it. As the Creator, Yahowah is in an entirely different position than the rest of us. We are not called to rise up and slaughter our oppressors as Akiba's followers attempted to carry out against Rome with such horrid results. We are not called to be terrorists as Muhammad insists, nor crusaders as popes have pleaded. Unless it is in self-defense, as was the case with Dowd protecting Yahowah's family, we should limit our attacks to courageously wielding God's words. He will take care of the rest. Ridding the world of the influence of religion is not only God's responsibility, but he is also the only one who is justified in, and capable of, doing so. We did not create this world or conceive the life within it, and thus, souls are not ours to take. Moreover, God provided humankind with unequivocal instructions regarding behaviors he abhors along with the consequence of pursuing them. Religions are deadly because the faithful do not listen to God. Their conquests and inquisitions, as well as their intent to subjugate others, are entirely of human design. There are two reasons for mentioning Tabor and Chermon. First, these names are based on words revealing that there will be a turn of fortune for Yisra'el. God's people have been broken and banned by Gentiles for 2,700 years, but their oppression is about to end. Second, the places where the chosen people were shattered and exterminated by the Romans and then Muslims will become the sites of great victories. So, this is prophetic of battles to be waged and won. For those who have suffered, salvation will be especially sweet. Laments will become laughter. Pain and sorrow will turn to joy. And it is the Zerah who will be working alongside Yahowah during this marvelous transformation to make the world a better place. Beside you, and on your behalf, La'ada, to approach you and concerning you, by your side, the Zerah, protective shepherd and sacrificial lamb, Zerah, the productive ram who shepherds the flock, the strong arm who prevails because he is effective and capable, fully resolved with the overall ability to accomplish the mission, the remarkably important and impactful individual of action who, as a leader and fighter is engaged as a shepherd among his sheep, who is fruitful in his ways. Especially when sowing the seeds of truth while denoting and advancing the purpose of the arm of God, of his shepherd and sacrificial lamb, with tremendous power, courage, character, and awesome ability, I'm Geburah, with the will to fight and the capacity to perform, who accomplishes what needs to be done, becoming victorious, from feminine of Gibor, a mighty warrior, valiant soldier, and capable defender, a courageous hero worth noting, will be your strong hand, Azazyat Ada. Is the means you will use to confidently prevail, applying the force required to firmly establish and boldly overpower. Raised up high, lifted up as an extension from the source, at your right side, Yamin Ada, as your right hand for having chosen to be right. Mizmor/lyrics to sing/Psalm 89 verse 13. With these words, Zerah, protective shepherd and sacrificial lamb soars to become Dowd's most distinguished title. His Nepesh soul manifests Geburah character and courage, awesome ability, and tremendous power. He is God's Zaz yet strong hand, raised up to serve at Yahowah's Yamin right side. So methinks that Dowd is central to God's plans. Thus far, Dowd's name has appeared once in the 89th Mizmor while Zerah, sacrificial lamb has been used twice to describe God's beloved. Once each, Dowd has been called the Bahar chosen one, God's Ebed co-worker, and Ad, Alam eternal witness, a Mashal an articulate leader, the Yamin right hand, and Azaz yet strong hand of Yahowah. Therefore, do you suppose that the repetition of Zerah, protective shepherd and sacrificial lamb, by being the only accolade and title presented a second time, suggests that it is the Mashiach's and Melech's most revealing and important depiction? Before we review where we have been to answer that question, let's be perfectly clear, all of these things are being said of Dowd personally, including the realization that God has built a home for his throne. These titles and accolades, indeed, job descriptions and mission statements, do not apply to one of Dowd David's descendants as Judaism and Christianity insist, but to the Messiah and King himself. This admission alone is sufficient to take all of the air out of both religions. But there is so much more. In the second Mizmor, we learned that there was a religious conspiracy afoot to misappropriate the status and authority of Yahowah and his Mashiach anointed Messiah, Dowd. In the same psalm, God announced Ben Eni Ada you are my son. In the seventh Mizmor, Yahowah stated that Dowd was his appointed Shabbat judge through whom he would vindicate and condemn. We read in Yashayah/Isaiah 40 verse 10 that God would be returning with his Chazak-empowered leader and impassioned defender. He said that his Zeroah, protective shepherd and sacrificial lamb, would be speaking for him. And in the next statement, we were told that Dowd would be the Ra'ah shepherd tending the Almighty's flock. Then at the conclusion of Yashayah 40:11 we learned that Dowd would be gathering God's lambs ba Zeroah, who, in his strong and capable arms, serving the flock both as the protective ram and sacrificial lamb. In Solomon's dedication speech to all Yisra'el as recorded in 2 Chronicles 6, the king's son revealed that the Nakri would speak of his father's role as the yet hand of God. He would reveal that Dowd is God's Chazak, most powerful and passionate leader, and his Zeroah. When we turn to 2 Samuel 7, we were reminded that Dowd David is Yahuwah's Ebed co-worker. Upon his return, he would be God's Najid, most conspicuous and informed guide. God said that he would make Dowd's Shem name and reputation Hagadal the greatest of all, the most glorified on earth. In addition, Yahuwah announced that he would Beth Asa engage with the covenant family through Dowd. As we progress to 2 Samuel 7 verse 12, God categorically states that he would establish Dowd's reign over his kingdom while re-establishing the family home, inclusive of his throne, forevermore. Then Yahuwah revealed, Eni Hayalahu La Abwihu Hayala Eni La Ben I was, am, and always will be for him as a father, and he was, is, and always will be for me as a son. Mindful that we learn from repetition, Yahuwah affirmed that Dowd's Beth family and Malacca kingdom would Ammon be established and endure ad Aulam as a restoring witness forevermore. When we turn to the 103rd Mizmor, we discovered that Yahuwah's Barak blessings would be provided through Dowd's Nepesh soul. He would be the Gial kinsman redeemer who paid the price for us to live. Then in the 19th statement, we found another affirmation that Dowd's Kai's throne and his Makoth kingdom would serve as a Mishal vivid picture of what we should expect to see in all things the Father and Son do for us. Further into the text, Psalm 103 verse 20 explains that Dowd is Yahuwah's Gibbor, most courageous and capable man. Moving on to the 20th Mizmor, we find that Dowd will be dispatched as God's principal Ezer collaborator to assist those struggling during the day of trouble. Moving through the 6th verse of this same psalm, we read that Yahuwah intends to Yasha, provide salvation through his Mashiach Messiah. This bold declaration concludes by saying that God intends to respond from heaven through the Gibborah feminine characteristic, i.e., Nepesh soul, of the most courageous and capable leader, his Yamin right hand, through whom he will Yasha, save. Then, for those of us who require a little reminding, once again we read that the Melech king is the one offering Yasha, liberation and salvation. Addressing Dowd the beloved by name, the Melech king is called the Tzemach branch in Yirmiah/Jeremiah 23 verse 5. This presentation concludes by reminding us that Yahuwah Tzadak Anakna Yahuwah is our source of vindication because he is right. Those are the facts, and they are consistent and compelling. Dowd is the Zeroah, sacrificial lamb, the Mashiach Messiah, the Ben, El Son of God, and our Yasha, Savior. Being correct and vindicating, Tzedek, being right, honest, and fair, being accurate, just, and acquitting, regarding executing good judgment and justly resolving disputes, Wa Mishpat, along with adroitly pondering all of the questions required to make rational and moral decisions, a compound of Ma, to question and thus ponder and consider, and Shapat, to decide, to be discriminating, and to be just. Executing good judgment, serve as the foundation, Makon, are the basis and home, the very essence of the upright nature, of Y/your throne, Kai's, Ada, of Y/your authority and position of honor. A loving relationship and genuine mercy, chesed, loyalty and devotion, enduring favoritism and affection, generosity and kindness, and especially the benefits and sense of community germane to the covenant, along with a steadfast commitment to the truth, wa immuna, trustworthiness and honesty, being reliable and dependable, from immune, the enduring truth, and aman, to support, confirm, and uphold that which is trustworthy and reliable, verifiable and confirming that which is correct and accurate, encounter those who enter Y/your presence, Kadam Pana Ada, embrace those who come to meet Y/you, and can be anticipated because they are front and center with Y/you and naturally occur in Y/your presence. Mizmor/lyrics to sing/Psalm 89 verse 14. Since Yahuwah has pronounced that Dowd was Tzedek, right, noted his Mishpat, ability to exercise good judgment, and transitioned to Dowd in 89:13, referring to him as his Zeroah and Zaz Yad, it is possible that the psalmist is saying that the Tamakon, foundation, of Dowd's, Kai's, position of honor, is genuine love, loyalty, and devotion along with a steadfast commitment to the truth. And while all of this would also apply to Yahuwah, as Father and Son, your throne and presence could become lowercase and apply to Yisrael's king. If so, it would describe what we should anticipate when we witness his appearance and meet with him. Or even more appropriately, the intent may have been to say that we can learn to be correct about Yahuwah when we exercise good judgment with regard to the reason Dowd has been afforded this position and authority. The chesed, loving relationship Dowd developed with God as a result of the chesed, genuine mercy he experienced from his father were both predicated upon his lifelong pursuit of imuna, the truth. Following his example, we can count on the fact that Yahuwah's mercy comes to those who trust and rely upon that which is correct. Being right is what perfects the imperfect, not faith. In this way, as the Zeroah sacrificial lamb, Dowd is the purveyor of salvation. Yahuwah made it possible for Dowd to serve as the Pesach, Isle and then fulfill Matzah en route to Bikurim in year 4000 Yah, facilitating the benefits of the covenant. He would enable Yisraelites to immortalize and perfect their souls, enriching and empowering covenant members in the process. And because he has done this, we are committed to cultivating the Shabuah 7s and Teruah trumpets harvests, the 4th and 5th Micra invitation to be called out and meet while serving as heralds to his kippur in return. Delighted to show the way because blessed, Ashri, happy to reveal the proper path to the relationship and treat it favorably, from Asher, enjoying the benefits of the relationship by having been shown the steps to walk to get the most out of life, and any, me, are the people, are the family members, who are aware of and acknowledge, Yada, who are familiar and acquainted with, who learn about and make known, who comprehend and understand, Towrah, trumpets, the fifth of 7 micro-EY, time to expose corruptions while sharing the truth, crying out in alarm and shouting for joy, blowing the shofar to announce the upcoming harvest of souls and Dowd's return, who walk, Halak, who choose as a way of living to continually travel about, exploring and moving, Peel in perfect pedagogic, by continually choosing to walk with him, YAHOWAH becomes engaged and active with that individual, with the light into your presence, Ba, or Pana, Ada. Along with and within this enlightenment into your shining brilliance, appearance, and face. YAHOWAH. Mizmor/lyrics to sing/Psalm 89 verse 15. This is who we are. It is what we do. It is what we know. And the more we learn as Towrah's troubadours, the more we realize that we are not only following in Dowd's footsteps as he fulfilled the first 3 Moedim, but we also are cultivating the Shabuah and Towrah harvests while announcing his return on Kippurim. And this is what we experience, especially when we are enlightened by Dowd's Mizmor, many of which serve as the ultimate expression of Towrah. This is what we learn from the lyrics and life of YAHOWAH's chosen. It is through the lens of Towrah that we come to appreciate the balance shown in his writings between blasting lies and trumpeting the truth, both of which are needed when the mission is to lead Yehudim out of Babylon and into YAHOWAH's presence. Over the course of the past 22 years, there have been many goosebump moments, times in which we have found ourselves reveling in what we have learned. This is one of them. It affirms we are delighted to reveal the proper path which leads to the covenant. We thrive on the realization that Towrah precedes reconciliations. We understand the value of Yada, knowing what it is like to Halak, walk, Ba, or Pana, with the light into the presence of YAHOWAH. Everything we have written and spoken these past 22 years is an expression of Towrah, as we have striven to celebrate its purpose. We have sought to shout out a warning, boldly, bluntly, clearly, and loudly telling all who would listen that their religious and political affiliations put them at odds with God. At the same time, we have, as accurately and completely as we are able, shared what YAHOWAH has had to say about himself, explaining what he is offering and expects in return. This is the essence of Towrah, the very reason we are asked to celebrate it on the first day of the 7th month each year. And yet, there is much more to trumpets. During its fulfillment, beginning at sunset on September 23, 2033, as the 3rd Zeroah, I will cultivate a gleaning of Yisraelites and Yehudim. At the same time, I will ensure the protection of a mortal remnant deliberately left behind. The following morning, while serving as the Adam Apara red heifer, my sacrifice will cleanse and prepare the remaining Yisraelites for YAHOWAH's return. This fascinating turn of events is detailed in the Katzer Harvests volume of Yada Yahowah. Also relevant, let us not lose sight of the fact that it was because of Asher in 2 Shamuel 7 that we came to Yada, know all of this. It is the Halak path we walked with the or light we were given into the very presence of YAHOWAH, our God. Mizmor/Psalm 89 verse 15 has transitioned from comparing YAHOWAH to Dowd to celebrating our calling and purpose. One thing has led to another. Since YAHOWAH has heightened our awareness of Towrah, and since we have come to appreciate what it represents and our role in it, I'd like to affirm its timing. If you recall, toward the conclusion of Volume 2 of Observations, we came to realize that Shabuah would be fulfilled at the time Israel is thinned at the waist in an ill-fated attempt to trade land for peace, which will ignite the time Yaakov's troubles. This means that it will occur on the Shabat of Shabuah 7 Shabbats on May 22, 2026, which is 7 years prior to YAHOWAH's return with Dowd. Then, at the midpoint of the time of Israel's strife, on the 1st of Abib, April 4, 2030, the 2 witnesses will arrive and begin their tenure proclaiming the Messiah's return from the Temple Mount. This verbal confrontation with the political and religious elite will last 3.5 years, concluding at sunset during the evening of Towrah, September 23, 2033. At this moment, those who have accepted the conditions of the Beryth and who have capitalized upon the micro-EY among Yehudim and Yisraelites will be like it gleamed, creating a river of light from earth to heaven. And that is when things get particularly interesting because, according to YAHOWAH, and as foretold through Yashaya, Zechariah, Yoel, and Malachi, the final Zeroah, after cultivating this ingathering, will protect the mortal remnant of God's people who are left behind. Then as the Mikra and Shabat of Yom Teruah continue, and the sun rises the morning of September 24th, to the backdrop of a solar eclipse, the Zeroah will ask his Malachim protectors to stand down so that Satan can bludgeon him to death as the Adam Apara red heifer. God's stated purpose will be to cleanse his city and his people in advance of his arrival and prepare them for the ensuing family reunion, now just 10 days away. This grand spectacle will be orchestrated by Elia as he reenacts much of what he did 2 millennia 888 years previously, this time following the precise instructions laid out in Numbers 19. This final solution to the Jewish problem as it relates to their antagonistic relationship with YAHOWAH is thoughtfully and thoroughly presented in the Katzer Harvests volume of Yada Yahowah. Interestingly enough, we are afforded another clue relative to its timing in Mizmor 90. This song was composed by Moseh and speaks of YAHOWAH being the dwelling place for his people for all generations. In it, he quotes God saying, "Return and come back, children of men." This is followed by, "Indeed, our days have the appearance of your frustration. We spend our time muttering." Mizmor 90:9, "The days of our years are 70 and then by reason of strength become 80, for it is soon past and we fly away." Mizmor 90:10, "Who knows the extent of your frustration and respects your passion?" Mizmor 90:11, "So teach us to number and weigh our days so that we may derive wisdom by executing good judgment." Mizmor 90:12, "Return, YAHOWAH, and let us breathe in relief." Mizmor/Psalm 90 verse 13. Coming home, which seeks to call Yisra'el and Yehudah out of Babylon and back home to Yahowah, Dowd, Yerushalayim, and Yisra'el, began by pronouncing the third coming exactly 70 years after the nation of Israel was restored, making it possible. This was followed by how will you respond, being right, to Dowd or not to Dowd, and then respecting Yahowah's name. Whether or not I am accepted as the Choder sucker from the original root and the Nakri observant foreigner, and whether or not these words are seen comprising the Ness banner Yahowah has promised to raise for his people, even if it is believed that Yahowah will awaken some other Gawi such that this same message will be proclaimed by him, the events presented within Yada Yahowah will materialize as foretold. And I will continue to serve between now and May 2026 and then again between April 2030 and September 2033, 85 years after Israel's rebirth. I will be at Yisrael's side throughout the worst of Yaakov's troubles. We know these things because we were told as much in Mizmor 90 and throughout Yashayahu. For those who may be interested in the events of 2026, the new year will begin on Thursday, March 19th, at sunset. Pesach, Matzah, and Bikurim will be observed on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday beginning at sunset on April 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, 7/7s later, 7/7s will commence on the Shabat of May 22nd, 2026. This Katzer harvest will be of Gawim and Yehudim as this day serves as the official start of the time of Yaakov's troubles. At this point, only 7 years remain until Yahuwah's arrival with his son and our Messiah. If not for the realization the covenant's children will be transformed into light and be given everything we need and want, I'd encourage God's family members to pack their bags. Immediately thereafter, Yisrael will struggle alone. Yahuwah's final two witnesses, Yada and Elia, will not arrive until Abib 1, year 5997 Yah/2030, which isn't for another 3.5 years. And while they will overtly denounce the religious and political elite while exposing and condemning Muslims and progressives, their primary focus will be on awakening Yisrael so that Jews come home to Yahuwah. We rejoice because there is vindication in getting Yahuwah's name right. In your name, Ba Shem Ada, they rejoice, Gyl, they celebrate these favorable circumstances, expressing their enthusiasm, Kal in perfect pedagogic, every day, Kol Hayam, all the time. And, Wah, in your justice and vindication, by being right, Ba Tzedakah Ada, in you being correct, fair, and just, rightfully acquitting, they are lifted on high, Rum, they rise, going to a higher elevation. Mizmor/lyrics to sing/Psalm 89 verse 16. The first step we take to knowing Yahuwah is to acknowledge and proclaim his name. It is where the path begins to being right regarding who he is, what he is offering, and how we should engage with him to avail ourselves of his blessings. We do so without hesitation or equivocation. As he steps forward into Yahuwah's light, the psalmist cannot resist including himself among those enveloped and adorned in Yahuwah's radiant power. Indeed, ky, because the adornment, tiferet, the ornamentation, and beautiful appearance, comprising the splendor and divine attributes of their empowerment and fortification, Azhem, is yours, Ada. By your acceptance and approval, Ba Ratzon Ada, for your pleasure and by you having chosen to favorably accept, our brilliantly illuminating horn, Karen and Aknu, our illumination and source of light, our appearance as light and our trumpet, is lifted up, Rum, is raised and elevated as an extension from the source. Mizmor 89:17. For, ky, our deliverance and protection, Megan and Aknu, our defense and shield, are from, La, pertain to, Yahuwah, Yahuwah. Accordingly, Wallah, so therefore, the Kadosh set apart one, Kadosh, the one who is distinct and separate from the rest, the one who is prepared and dedicated, of Yisra'el, Yisra'el, of individuals who engage and endure with God, is our Melech king, Melech Anaknu, is our leader, our royal ruler, our authorized authority, and our sovereign. Mizmor/lyrics to sing/Psalm 89 verse 18. Yahuwah adorns his children in a garment of light, enlightening, perfecting, immortalizing, and empowering apparel provided by the Ruach Kodesh set-apart spirit. It is how the imperfect appear perfect before Yah. It is what makes us acceptable. This garment of light not only delivers us safely into Yahuwah's presence, but it also protects us in the here and now and throughout all time. Having introduced us to Teruah trumpets moments ago, we find God approving the brilliantly illuminating horns we will raise for the occasion. The instrument, comprised of a ram's horn, is called a shofar. Its sound is so amazing, it reverberates within our souls. The Kadosh set apart one serving as the Melech king of Yisrael individuals who engage and endure with God is Dowd. Teruah is focused on announcing his return as king, cultivating this day's gleaning, and then preparing the remnant left behind for the Messiah's impending arrival. And by affirming this, Dowd gains another two titles not previously mentioned within the 89th Mizmor. And while most can relate to king and will view it as the most acclaimed title, being set apart unto Yahuwah is infinitely superior. Over the long history of nations, kings have been a dime a dozen, but there is only one Kadosh set apart, one acclaimed within the prophets. Yahuwah is telling us a wonderful story, a love story. Therefore, meanwhile then, in relation to this, and logically, you spoke, Dabur, you communicated with words, promising and declaring, in a revelation, Ba Chazon, prophetically in a manner such that the intelligent would perceive by visually conveying an agreement, to, La, on behalf of, your Bakarim chosen and tested ones, Bahar, the one selected, tried, and examined, preferred and found acceptable, from 4 QPs versus, Chasidi, faithful and devoted ones in the Masoretic text. Saying, Amar, expressing and claiming, from 4 QPs, I have equated and bestowed, Shawah, I have likened and offered, assistance, supplying what is needed, Ezer, help and aid, enabling, on behalf of, Al, for and upon, the Gibbor most courageous and capable man, Gibbor, the mightiest of men, the strong and effective fighter, the valiant and brave warrior, the one who battles, from Gabur. To prevail, to be powerful, mighty, and strong, to prove one's valor, and to be a champion for a virtuous cause. I have raised up and exalted, I have elevated and lifted on high, taking action to empower, the Bahar chosen one, Bahar, the one selected, tried, and tested, examined and found acceptable, from, min, out of, the people, the family, dot. Mizmor/lyrics to sing/Psalm 89 verse 19. This is the first line of the 89th Mizmor extant among the scrolls found in the caves above Qumran. And in the text of the 1,000-year-older Dead Sea Scroll, we find the plural and singular use of Bahar chosen and desired, tested and proven. As a result, based upon his previous declaration, not only was there a connection between God's deliverance and protection on Towrah and the realization that Dowd was the Kadosh set-apart one of Yisra'el nar Melech king, it logically followed that God should make a corresponding revelation to those he had chosen and proven. And in this case, divine insight was how he assisted Dowd, aiding and abetting his Gibor most capable and courageous man. Moreover, the Bahar chosen one, the Gibor, Melech, and Kadosh were one and the same. Dowd is all of these things and more. Further, it was Yahowah's decision to raise and exalt Dowd from among his people. Since we do not find Nabi in the text, it is implied that this awesomely important insight was revealed to witnesses rather than prophets. And should this be the case, you are likely reading the result. In an interesting twist, since rabbinic Jews, who are anything but devoted to Yah, refer to themselves as chassid devoted and faithful ones, it is easy to see why they replaced Bakarim with chasidi. Little did they know that they would be caught and exposed. In contrast to the rabbinical scum, Dowd is Yahowah's Gibor most capable and courageous man. He had the strength to prevail, however, in part because Yahowah supported him. In the center of God's will, and at his side, Dowd was valiant, always willing to fight for what was right, willing to risk his life to defend his people. And it was this attitude that made it possible for Dowd to serve as the Zeroah sacrificial lamb, offering the life of his Basar mortal body to save Yisra'el. As previously stated, Dowd was mighty with pen and sword. Clearly, he was not a pacifist. He did not compromise. He was not diplomatic. He was unapologetic, at least toward other men. He knew right from wrong and would not tolerate any form of deception. He would be crucified in today's world for being politically incorrect and intolerant, just as he was crucified by the Romans for being incompatible with their immoral quest to abuse others. There are a similar number of uncommon insights conveyed in this next statement. First among them, Yahowah found Dowd, not the other way around. People the world over are searching for God and yet never seem to find him, not just because they don't know where to look, but because they are too busy praying to listen, and too enamored with their opinions to be observant. It never fails, when I meet someone who claims to be genuinely interested in finding God, even when I have the answers they seek, they'd rather share what they believe than consider what Yahowah had to say. And speaking of what God had to say, this is in Yahowah's voice. I discovered and then made known, Matzah, I located, found, revealed, exposed, encountered, and experienced, then sought to reap the benefit by inspiring, Dowd, the beloved, from Dowd, the one who is loved and who loves in return, my Ebed co-worker, Ebed Eni, my authorized agent who works on my behalf, from Abad, to work. Out of, min, from, 1 Q piece 4, Shemen Kodesh Eni my set-apart oil, Shemen Kodesh Eni, my separating, devoting, and preparing olive oil I have dedicated him to service, I have Mashak anointed him, Mashak who, I have applied the oil, dedicating him to my purpose, the actionable basis of and thus process of becoming the Mashiach Messiah, Mizmor 89:20, so that, to show the way to the benefits of the relationship, Asher, to reveal the path to walk to get the most out of life, my hand. Yad Eni, my influence and ability to act, will be established and steadfast, Kun, will be authenticated and sustained, made ready and prepared, be unwavering and persistent, with you, I'm Ada, in association with you, for Q piece changes him to you, dot. Mizmor/lyrics to sing/Psalm 89 verse 21 in part. By stating that he made Dowd known to us, Yahowah is taking credit for the accounts of his life and copies of his psalms that have been made available for us to read 3,000 years after they were chronicled and composed. No other 11th century BCE life is as contemporaneously or voluminously documented. Therefore, we should be asking ourselves why this is so. Why did God intervene in human affairs in this way, at this time, in this place, and for this man? We have more written about and by Dowd than we can process in a lifetime, preserved in the original language, verified and proven credible with copious prophecies, conscientiously maintained, and even extant among the Dead Sea Scrolls, parchments sealed in ceramics found less than 20 miles from where they were first composed. By calling Dowd his Ebed co-worker, God is giving us the opportunity to understand what he values and wants to accomplish. All we have to do is examine his life and consider his lyrics. Highlights of this search reveal that Yahowah wants us to call him by name and then relate to him as we would a loving father. He wants us to listen and learn from him, to share what we have come to know, to become part of his family, to appreciate what he values, and to oppose what he disdains, fighting to protect his people while striving to be right. God is attracted to intellect and character, passion and reliability, to those who are not afraid to tell the truth, even when it isn't popular. By referring to Dowd as the one who works on my behalf, Yahowah is reaffirming his predilection to accomplish what needs to be done with us and through us rather than alone. This remarkable fact reinforces his commitment to empower and enrich his children by being personally involved in our lives. On this occasion, Yahowah is announcing that he did something remarkable for Dowd that he has not done for anyone else, out of my set-apart oil I have anointed him. Should this be the oil of enlightenment, longevity, healing, protection, nourishment, or preparation for service, may you and I benefit from future allocations of it. And may we capitalize upon it with all of the passion and courage Dowd manifested. That said, the Shemen Kodesh Eni my set-apart anointing oil isn't describing the application of olive oil on Dowd, although this occurred at Yahowah's direction. It actually speaks of Dowd being immersed in the Ruach Kodesh set-apart spirit when he was initially introduced by Yahowah as his Mashiach anointed Messiah at 8 years of age. In conjunction with God explaining that his criteria for determining who he prefers differs markedly from mankind's, Yahuwah explained the process of anointing Dowd in conjunction with being immersed in the Ruach, our spiritual mother, causing Dowd to be God's son. There is one thing we should never do, and that is ignore what God has done, or worse, try to take it from this man and give it to another. Yahuwah chose to personally anoint Dowd his Mashiach Messiah. It was God's decision, and we should respect it, appreciate it, accept and embrace it, capitalizing upon it by reading his 119th Mizmor, his magnum opus on how to properly observe Yahuwah's Torah teaching. Beyond the fact that this decision was Yahuwah's, and without him, we don't even exist, he didn't do this for Dowd's benefit but, instead, for ours. By preparing the Messiah to serve in this way, God's influence in our lives was established and authenticated, becoming as steadfast and unwavering as the lyrics of this and every Mizmor. Our Heavenly Father's instructions are collective, and to the whole of Yisra'el, in the Torah, but in Dowd's songs, it's all personal. The Torah is the map, and Dowd is the guide. We have long since come to realize that Yahuwah chose a shepherd to serve as his Zeroath sacrificial lamb. He would protect God's flock while sowing the seeds of truth such that we would come to appreciate the benefit of him having done so. It is the greatest gift ever offered. Those who capitalize upon what father and son have accomplished live forever, are perfected, and then are adopted into God's covenant family. And so, while Dowd's most famous title was Melech King, and his most purloined were Mashiach Messiah and Ben, El Son of God, his most important was Zeroah, sacrificial lamb. In addition, even more, Eni Zeroah, my protective shepherd, strong arm, and sacrificial lamb, Zeroah Eni, my productive ram who shepherds the flock, who prevails because he is effective and strong, fully resolved with the overall ability to accomplish the mission, my remarkably important and impactful individual of action who, as a leader and fighter, is engaged to guide my sheep, who is fruitful in his ways, especially when sowing the seeds of truth while denoting and advancing. The purpose of the arm of God, of his shepherd and sacrificial lamb, will empower and embolden you, strengthening you, while enabling your growth, Amitz Ada, will help you grow, elevating your status, reinforcing and establishing you with the determination to persist and be courageous, for QP's corrects him to you. Mizmor/lyrics to sing Psalm 89 verse 21. God could not have made this any easier for us. There is no need to interpret the text, extrapolate, or speculate. The Bahar chosen one from among the people, the anointed Mashiach Messiah, the Son of God, the man Yahuwah raised and exalted to work with him, the very hand of God and his Zeroah, protective shepherd and sacrificial lamb, has a name, Dowd. For those willing to listen and engage, his life and lyrics will, Amitz Ada, help you grow, empowering and emboldening you. For God's sake and yours, if you haven't already done so, it's well past time that we all accept and acknowledge Dowd's special place in our lives and with God. If anyone holds the keys to heaven, it is this man. It is his home and his family as well as his father's, and it is his throne and his kingdom which will exist therein, forevermore. He opened the door and made it possible for us to enter. His is the greatest life ever lived and the greatest gift ever given. It is worth mentioning that the surviving fragments of the Qumran texts supporting the 89th Psalm are legible beginning with the 19th verse. The differences, when compared to the Masoretic text, therein, were numerous and significant. They are especially relevant in the previous statement, particularly in 89:21, where the opening thought is now correctly presented as two distinct sentences with the change from with to from relative to the set-apart oil with which Yahuwah personally anointed Dowd. But the biggest difference is found in the concluding pronouncements of what we have just read, where the witness of the Dead Sea Scrolls changes who, him, to Ada, you, revealing that Dowd was presented and anointed for our benefit. This perspective becomes particularly poignant because it means that Yahuwah's Zeroah, sacrificial lamb was offered for our benefit. His sacrifice strengthens and emboldens us so that we can grow with God. This is in opposition to the implications of the Masoretic text which has the Zeroah influencing Dowd. With the Dead Sea Scroll correction, Dowd's role as the Zeroah, protective shepherd and sacrificial lamb reveals that he earned the respect of the flock by making the ultimate sacrifice for them. Having reached a crescendo a third of our way through Dowd's song, this would be a good time to assess how far we have come. A poem of insights to contemplate and comprehend by being circumspect and thoughtful, Maskil, through, La, Ithan the constant and eternal, productive and established, profuse and enduring, Ithan, Ezraki beloved native-born strong arm who is cherished, Ha Ezraki. Mizmor 89, Introduction and Dedication. I want to sing, SHYR, about the eternal and everlasting love, steadfast devotion, enduring favoritism, unfailing affection, and genuine mercy, kindness, and generosity forevermore, Chisit Alam, of Yahowah, on behalf of, all generations throughout time, the household, family, and home, Dower wa Dower. With my mouth, Ba-Pe-Eni, I will make known, revealing that I am familiar with and understand, acknowledging that I have embraced, Yada, your trustworthiness and dependability, your honesty and reliability, and your steadfast commitment to the truth, Immuna Ada. Mizmor 89:1. Yes, indeed, KY, I say, Amar, now and forevermore, Aulam, the spiritual realm of the heavens, Shemaim, was established and is continually built to procreate a restored, prosperous, and productive family, Bana, on love, devotion, favoritism, kindness, generosity, and mercy, Chisid. You have fashioned and formed it to manifest within it, Kun Ba-Hem, your authentic character, your trustworthiness and reliability, Immuna Ada. Mizmor 89:2. I have established, cutting through separation, the Beryth covenant for the family and home, Beryth, through any backer my chosen one, the person I prefer and have decided upon, La backer any. I have sworn an oath, and I will affirm this promise 7 times over, Shabat, to Dowd the beloved, La Dowd, Ebed any my authorized agent and co-worker who serves on my behalf, Ebed any. Mizmor 89:3. forevermore, as an ad alam eternal witness to the restoring testimony, ad alam, I will prepare and establish, kun, your offspring and that which you sow, zera ada. In addition, I will construct a home, wabana, for your throne and seat of honor, kais, ada, on behalf of all generations throughout time, la dower wadower, dot. Selah. Pause now and contemplate the implications, Selah. Mizmor 89:4. The spiritual realm of the heavens, Shemaim, knows and appreciates, Yada, your wonderful accomplishments and marvelous contributions, Pale, Ada, Yahowah, Yahowah, and, also, Af, your trustworthiness, Imuna, Ada, in the community, Ba Qowl, of the set-apart, Kodesh. Mizmor 89:5. By contrast, Ky, who, my, in the skies of the material realm, Ba Hashachak, can be equated or compared, Barak, to, La, Yahowah, Yahowah. Who is similar to or thinks like, Dama, Yahowah, Yahowah, among the sons of gods, Ba Ben, El. Mizmor 89:6. God, El, is inspiring and awesome, Eretz, in the council and fellowship, Ba Sod, of the set-apart ones, Kadoshim, tremendously great, while inspiring reverence and respect, Rab Wayar, beyond all those around him, Al-Kol Sabib. Mizmor 89:7. Yahowah, Yahowah, God, Elohim, of the vast array of spiritual implements, Saba, who and what, my, is comparable to your, Kamo, Ada, awesome power and extraordinary gifts, Chazim, which are all around you, Sabib, Ada, Yahowah, Yahowah, including, Wa, your unwavering commitment to the truth, Imuna, Ada. Mizmor 89:8. You have conveyed vivid parables, establishing an articulate leader, Adam Ashal, over the raging devastation and presumptive arrogance, Bagef, of the sea, Hayam. When its turbulent and surging waves rise up and deceit to craft delusions, Ba Nasa/Nashak Galhu, you expose them and stop them, Ada Shabakhem. Mizmor 89:9. You humbled and crushed, rejecting and defeating, Ada Daka, that which is comparable to the reprehensible and deadly nature of, Ka Hachalal, the pretentious pride and stormy arrogance of the boisterous afflictor and his false god, Rahab, with your empowered and fortified, Ba, Ada, Zeroah, protective shepherd and sacrificial lamb, Zeroah. You isolate and separate, Pazer, your adversaries, Oyeb Ada. Mizmor 89:10. The spiritual realm of the heavens, Shemaim, is yours, Loth Ada. The material realm, Eretz, the world, Tebel, and all that is in it, Wamalo, High, is also yours, Afloth Ada. You laid the foundation for them and created them, Ada Yasadhem. Mizmor 89:11. The north, the place where treasure is taken and hidden, Saphoun, and, Wa, the south, the right side, Yamin, you have created them, Adabara, Hem. Tabor the broken and shattered, Tabor, and, Wa, Chermon the banned and exterminated, Chermon, shout for joy, Ranan, in your name, Ba Shem Ada. Mizmor 89:12. Beside you, and on your behalf, La Ada, the Zeroah, protective shepherd and sacrificial lamb, Zeroah, with tremendous power, courage, character, and awesome ability, Angabura, will be your strong hand, Azaz Yet Ada, raised up high, Rum, at your right side, Yamin Ada. Mizmor 89:13. Being correct and vindicating, Tzedek, regarding executing good judgment and justly resolving disputes, Wa Mishpat, serve as the foundation, Makon, of Y/your throne, Kais Ada. A loving relationship and genuine mercy, Chisid, along with a steadfast commitment to the truth, Wa Imuna, encounter those who enter Y/your presence, Kadampana Ada. Mizmor 89:14. Delighted to show the way because blessed, Ashri, are the people, Ha-Am, who are aware of and acknowledge, Yada, Towrah, who walk, Halak, with the light into your presence, Ba, or Pana Ada, Yahowah, Yahowah. Mizmor 89:15. In your name, Ba Shem Ada, they rejoice, Gyl, every day, Kol Hayam, all the time. And, Wa, in your justice and vindication, by being right, Ba Tzedakah Ada, they are lifted on high, Rum. Mizmor 89:16. Indeed, Ky, the adornment and appearance, Tiferet, of their empowerment and fortification, Ozhem, is yours, Ada. By your acceptance and approval, Ba Ratzon Ada, our brilliantly illuminating horn, Karen Anaknu, is lifted up, Rum. Mizmor 89:17. For, Ky, our deliverance and protection, Megan Panaknu, are from, La, Yahowah, Yahowah. Accordingly, Wa-La, the Kadosh set-apart one, Kadosh, of Yisra'el, Yisra'el, is our Melech king, Melech Anaknu. Mizmor 89:18. Therefore, in relation to this, logically, Az, you spoke, Daber, in a revelation, Ba Chazon, to, La, your Bakram chosen and tested ones, Bakram Ada, saying, Amar, I have equated and bestowed, Shawa, assistance, supplying what is needed, Ezer, on behalf of, Al, the Gibbor most courageous and capable man, Gibbor. I have raised up and exalted, Rum, the Bahar chosen one, Bahar, from, Min, the people, Am. Mizmor 89:19. I discovered and then made known, encountered, experienced, and exposed, Matzah, Dowd, my Ebed co-worker, Ebed Eni. Out of, Min, Shemen Kodesh Eni my set-apart oil, Shemen Kodesh Eni, I have Mashak anointed him, Mashak Mizmor 89:20, so that, to show the way to the benefits of the relationship, Asher, my hand and influence, Yad Eni, will be established and steadfast, authenticated and unwavering, Kun, with you, I'm Ada. In addition, and beyond this, Af, Eni Zeroah, my protective shepherd, strong arm, and sacrificial lamb, Zeroah Eni, will empower and embolden you, strengthening you, while enabling your growth, Amitz Ada. Mizmor/lyrics to sing Psalm 89 verse 21. It is the most important song ever sung. While we are just over one-third of our way through the 89th Mizmor/Psalm, Yahuwah has already acknowledged his son as Dowd beloved, twice. Bahar Eni my chosen one, twice. Ebed Eni my co-worker, twice. Ad Aulam a restoring and eternal witness, twice. Mashal an articulate leader, once. Yamin the right hand, once. Azaz Yad a strong hand, once. Zeroah sacrificial lamb, 4 times. Gabora the feminine manifestation of the souls, spirits, and Zeroah's power, inspiring courage, outstanding character, and awesome ability, twice. Kadosh set apart one of Yisra'el, once. Gibbor most courageous and capable man, once. Mashak anointed, once. And while those are names, titles, and attributes to cherish, it all pales when compared to what Yahuwah had to say about Dowd. I have established, cutting through separation, the Beryth covenant for the family and home, Beryth, through any backer my chosen one, the person I prefer and have decided upon, la backer any. I have sworn an oath, and I will affirm this promise 7 times over, Shabat, to Dowd the beloved, la Dowd, Ebed any my authorized agent and co-worker who serves on my behalf, Ebed any. Forevermore, as an ad Aulam eternal witness to the restoring testimony, ad Aulam, I will prepare and establish, Kun, your offspring and that which you sow, Zerah Ada. In addition, I will construct a home, Wabana, for your throne and seat of honor, Kais, Ada, on behalf of all generations throughout time, la Dower Wadower, dot. Selah pause now and contemplate the implications, Selah. Beside you, and on your behalf, La Ada, the Zeroah, protective shepherd and sacrificial lamb, Zeroah, with Gabora tremendous power, inspiring courage, outstanding character, and awesome ability, I'm Gabora, will be your Azaz Yad strong hand, Azaz Yad, Ada, raised up high, Rum, at your Yamin right side, Yamin Ada. 4. KY, our deliverance and protection, Megan and Aknu, are from, La, Yahowah, Yahowah. Accordingly, Wallah, the Kadosh set apart one, Kadosh, of Yisra'el, Yisra'el, is our Melech king, Melech and Aknu. Therefore, in relation to this, logically, Az, you spoke, Daber, in a revelation, Ba Chazon, to, La, your Bakram chosen and tested ones, Bakram Ada, saying, Amar, I have equated and bestowed, Shawa, assistance, supplying what is needed, Ezer, on behalf of, Al, for and upon, the Gibbor most courageous and capable man, Gibbor. I have raised up and exalted, Rum, the Bahar chosen one, Bahar, from, Min, the people, Am. I discovered and then made known, encountered, experienced, and exposed, Matzah, Dowd, my Ebed co-worker, Ebed Eni. Out of, Min, Shemen Kodesh Eni my set-apart oil, Shemen Kodesh Eni, I have Mashak anointed him, Mashak who, so that, to show the way to the benefits of the relationship, Asher, my hand and influence, Yad Eni, will be established and steadfast, authenticated and unwavering, Kun, with you, I'm Ada. In addition, and beyond this, Av Eni Zeroah, my protective shepherd, strong arm, and sacrificial lamb, Zeroah Eni, will empower and embolden you, strengthening you, while enabling your growth, Amitz Ada, dot. That's pretty good for a man Paul claimed was dead and buried and, thus, replaced. And it's impressive for a fellow who rabbis prefer to denigrate rather than celebrate. Yada Yahowah. As we press on, there is a slightly different order of things found within the Qumran parchments as opposed to the Masoretic text. Psalm 89 verse 25 follows Mizmor 89:21. Further, his hand becomes my hand, and my right side, in 4 QPs, Dowd will stand at Yahuwah's right side and is serving as God's hand. As such, I will place, I will appoint, direct, set, and establish, my hand, Yad Eni, under my influence, from 4 QPs whereas the MT read his hand, into, Ba, within and over, the sea, Ha-Yam, the waters of the oceans, a metaphor for Gawam, and my right side, Yamin Eni, my right hand, adjacent to flowing waters, Wa-Ba Ha-Nahar, over the rivers and among the places water flows, also possibly in the feminine, Nahara, in concert with the beaming light of the sun, dot. Mizmor/lyrics to sing Psalm 89 verse 25 reposition based upon the Dead Sea Scrolls. As he has already disclosed, Yahuwah's Yad, hand, is Dowd. Therefore, he will be placed over Gawam Gentiles, represented in the text by the Yam, sea. The Ha-Nahar, place from which the waters flow, at Yahuwah's Yamin, right side, is Tzion. Upon their return, Yahuwah is going to open up a life-giving waterway from the Dead Sea to the Mediterranean Sea, running right through Maria between his home on the summit and his son's palatial residence below. I expect that there will be a bridge of light connecting the two. From death, there will be new life. And from the witness of the Dead Sea Scrolls, we will come to know our Father as Dowd knew him. As a result, the adversary and the schemes of his tempestuous child will be thwarted. The father of lies, as Satan's prodigy, is now also the son of evil. With this much evidence condemning Shaul Paul as the Towraless one, the man who tried to annul the word of God and negate the life and lyrics of the Messiah and Son of God, it's curious that Christians remain fixated on identifying their Antichrist. Fortunately, Yahuwah is a great father and is going to protect his son. The adversary, Oyeb, the hostile opposition, the enemy, the one with animosity, enmity, and rancor, masculine singular, will not outwit or nullify him, Shoah, Ba who will not negate his value or annul his position or purpose. And, Wah, the son of evil, Ben, Allah, the awful child of wickedness, the prodigy of malice and injustice, the seed of the one who is wrong, harmful, and damaging, from Awel, transliterated evil in the Masoretic text, the evil one, who by being wrong deviates from the truth by perverting, twisting, and corrupting that which is correct, masculine singular, will not deny him or denigrate him because he will have no answer for him, lo, Anahu, he will not silence him or stop him, will not negate his answers or nullify his responsive declarations, Peel imperfect energic none, the son of evil will not be allowed to continue his assault on Dowd. Mizmor/lyrics to sing/Psalm 89 verse 22. Shoah wasn't chosen by happenstance, nor was Allah. Shoah is used in the third statement YAHOWAH etched in stone to say that he would not forgive anyone who sought to nullify or negate the value of his name. He's not going to allow Satan to denigrate or silence Dowd either. This is an important lesson because it means that God is as protective of his name and reputation as he is of his sons. An attack on one is an assault on the other. To degrade the son by failing to acknowledge what he has sacrificed to save Yisra'el or to replace him with a mythical misnomer, as is the case with Judaism and Christianity, is to garner his father's wrath. As for Allah, it was used in Habakkuk 2 verse 12 to reveal that Shaul Paul, the plague of death, would build an evil edifice. Therefore, Yahuwah is tying each of these clues together for us so that we might understand Satan's desire to degrade Yahuwah's chosen. God does not want us fooled into denying or trivializing the Zeroah. While the adversary, as Ha-Satan, is singular, as is his prodigy, the son of evil, when working together as they did to conceive Christianity, they become, Zari, adversarial foes. Beyond this, to the best of my knowledge, there are only three prominent individuals who claim to speak for God while admitting to being demon-possessed: the people's choice, King Shaul Saul, the wannabe apostle and false prophet, Shaul Paul, and the self-acclaimed messenger of God, Muhammad. However, since the plague of death was explicitly named Shaul in Habakkuk, it doesn't take a genius to ascertain which of these nefarious fellows earned the title, son of evil. More to the point, Shaul's name will soon appear within this Mizmor, eliminating any doubt as to the identity of the wicked child. May we applaud Yah. The title is fitting. It's stupefying that no one has bothered to ask, if Shaul Paul is as goddamn important as he claims, if he is the lone apostle to the Gentile world, why are all of the prophetic references to him decidedly negative? Why isn't there a single positive comment about the principal author of the Christian New Testament to be found anywhere in prophecy? If it is Shaul that we should be listening to, why is Dowd, the man whose status and testimony Paul sought to annul, featured in more prophecies than everyone else combined? If Paul is telling the truth and Dowd is lying, why is it that Paul consistently misquotes and contradicts God while Yahuwah proclaims that Dowd is right? Why is this Dowd's song and not an ode to Shaul? Why is Shaul's name synonymous with Sheol? Why does it mean, question him? Why is he a Binyamite son headed south to the Sea of Gentiles and a wolf if he is to be believed? Why does Dowd's name mean, beloved? Why is Dowd the one from Yehudah beloved of Yah while Shaul is from the most wayward of the tribes? Why is Dowd afforded almost every positive title, accolade, and attribute by God, himself, from the chosen one to the set-apart one, from son of God to the hand of God, from Messiah to king, and from the branch to the protective shepherd and sacrificial lamb, if we aren't supposed to value his contribution to our lives? Why is Dowd accompanying Yahuwah upon his return and then presented ruling the world, if his life and testimony are to be discounted? Why are the only titles God associated with Shaul Paul the father of lies, the son of evil, and the plague of death if there is anything good or right about him? Asked another way, since the book of Acts claims that Paul was such a big shot, such a persuasive orator and prolific writer, a man who traveled throughout the Greco-Roman world, the best student of Gamaliel, the leading rabbi of the day, and a man who supposedly met with numerous kings along the way, why isn't there a single reference to him in any of the communities or nations he visited? Having allegedly given speeches before provincial governors, kings, and emperors, why didn't a court scribe record his message? Why wasn't the Christian globetrotter mentioned by Tacitus, Pliny, Josephus, or even by a rabbi? Why is Paul's written account of his life in Galatians so incompatible with the story he told Luke in Acts? Why did he die miserable and alone, rejected by all he sought to influence? What did those who listened to Paul and rejected him realize that Christians fail to recognize today? Rest assured, before the conclusion of these chapters, we will expose Shaul Paul's irrational attempts, both spoken and written, to, constrain and restrict the importance of Dowd the beloved of Yahuwah. You will know, as does God, why the plague of death must be vanquished. Standing up for the one who stood with him, Yah reveals. And so, I will pulverize and crush, I will defeat, beat down, shatter, and break, then vanquish, throwing away and incarcerating under extremely unfavorable circumstances after thoroughly rebuking, perfect, his foes, especially those who seek to constrain and restrict him, his adversaries who openly display their hostility and opposition, creating an unfavorable situation, by diminishing his calling and purpose. Then, out of his presence, min panahu, away from and on account of, even before his appearance, I will plague, negaf, I will afflict with a deadly pandemic disease, smiting and inflicting with that which is destructive, harmful, and injurious, those who shun him by attempting to decrease his status, saying, those who are openly hostile in their derision and who so intensely dislike him they refuse to associate with him, failing to appreciate what his love represents, hating him. Mizmor/lyrics to sing/Psalm 89 verse 23. Empirically, having dissected, compared, and analyzed much of what Shaul Paul said and wrote, I realized that the principal author of the Christian New Testament was not only replacing Dowd with his mythological God-man, Jesus Christ, but was decreasing Dowd's status to elevate his own. However, until I invested the time to specifically scrutinize Paul's spoken and written assessment of Dowd, the first in Acts and the second in Romans, I had no idea just how irrational and pathetic his attempts had been. As a result, I came to understand the basis of replacement theology. Paul's irrational and counterproductive assessments of Dowd were contrived because the father of lies realized that Hamashiach's life and lyrics not only undermined his New Testament, but they also obliterated his credibility. And soon enough, you will know what I have learned. By contrast, Yahowah and Dowd share this in common. Therefore, my steadfast commitment to the truth, my trustworthiness and unrelenting honesty, the realization that I am reliable and dependable, unchanging and without contradiction, resolute and unwavering, from my enduring truth and my support and willingness to confirm and uphold that which is trustworthy, consistent, and verifiable, and my continuing commitment to confirm that which is correct and accurate, and my unwavering love, determined devotion and enduring favoritism, my ongoing affection and genuine favoritism, my commitment to a loving relationship, to generosity and kindness, in addition to the continuation of my merciful benefits, are with him, I'm who, mark my association with him and are implied in my relationship with him. In my name, in my personal and proper designation, his light will radiate and enlighten, and his brilliant horn, Karen who, his glowing appearance on his summit and his ability to enlighten will be brilliant, even his ram's horn crown, symbolic of his status and strength, and of his role as the protective ram among the sheep during Teruah will be prominent, as will be his trumpet for signaling which emits light, will be lifted up, raised on high, and exalted, will arise and act, Qowl imperfect. Mizmor/lyrics to sing Psalm 89 verse 24. Dowd David is like Yahowah in this way. Both share an unwavering commitment to the truth. They are both loving. By looking at one we see the other. Seen together, they encapsulate the Torah and emulate the covenant. Their relationship has made it possible for us to understand, and thereby experience, Yahowah's enduring love and mercy. When Yahowah said this about himself, he destroyed the basis of the Christian religion. Since God is unwavering in his commitment to the truth, he could not have inspired the contradictory message found in the Christian New Testament, especially since it annuls much of what he claimed would be consistently reliable. Since the God of the Torah is genuinely loving and merciful, the gospel of grace is without merit. If it conveys the same message as that found in the Torah, which it doesn't, it becomes superfluous. If its message differs, and it does, for it to be true, the statement God just made must be false. Since God stated that his enduring commitment to the truth and mercy were both with Dowd, one leads to the other, completely negating salvation through faith. All good things occur in Yahowah's name, from love to enlightenment, from mercy to being converted into light. Also interesting, Yahowah told Abraham that he would provide the lamb. And so, when Abraham looked, he saw the lambs, Karen, horns of radiant light, on the summit of Moriah. Therefore, based upon this statement, Yahowah was symbolically portraying what he would accomplish with Dowd 2,000 years later on Moriah. After all, Dowd is not only the exemplar of the covenant, as the Zeroth sacrificial lamb who scribed his experience during Chag Matzah in first person, he is the fulfillment of Pesach, Matzah, and Bikurim, having done so at this same place. One after the next, every word of each declaration contains a treasure trove of relevant insights. The same is true with these next three statements. They are awesome individually and exceptional collectively. Dowd's status with God is both special and secure. He, himself, will call out to me and welcome me, announcing, he will genuinely invite me into his life, actually reading and reciting to me, continually proclaiming unto me, Qowl imperfect, you are my father, Yada. Mizmor 89:26. Note, what Sur Yeshua my God and rock of my salvation, is omitted in 4 QPs but included in the Masoretic text. Also, likewise and in relation, from 4 QPs, will appoint and make him, Nathan who, will offer and present him, bestowing him as a gift, causing him by way of this relationship to be, Qowl imperfect, my firstborn, my firstborn son, serving as the basis of Bikurim, the third of 7 Mikri, the Elion highest and uppermost, Elion, the most exalted in status, rank, and position, the supreme, a title so divine in nature, it is almost always reserved for God, himself, meaning, Almighty God, from Allah, to ascend above, in comparison to the kings and rulers, Lamelikim, government leaders, of the earth, Eretz, of the material realm and of the land. Mizmor 89:27. For all eternity, forever, from antiquity and into the future without end, I will keep watch over him, paying very close attention to him, Shamar Lahu, I will focus upon him, observing all there is to know about him, closely and carefully considering him, paying attention to him and guarding him. My unwavering love, unrelenting devotion, enduring affection, and genuine favoritism, my commitment to a loving relationship, to generosity and kindness, as well as my compassion and mercy, in addition to my family-oriented covenant, Beryth, as well as my binding oath and pledge to build a home and raise my family, from Beith, family and home and Bana, to build a home to raise children, are truthfully presented and reliably established, verifiable and enduring through him, Aman Lahu, are confirmed and credible, upheld and everlasting, especially real for him and through him. Mizmor/lyrics to sing Psalm 89 verse 28. Second only to the introductory proclamations Yahowah made at the inception of Dowd's song, the last 3 pronouncements are as profoundly important as anything found in the Torah and prophets. He, himself, will call out to me and welcome me, announcing, you are my father, Yada. Also, will bestow him as a gift, appointing, making him, Nathan who, my firstborn, as Elion Almighty God, the highest and uppermost, Elion, in comparison to the kings and rulers, Lamelikim, of the earth, Eretz. For all eternity, I will keep watch over him, paying very close attention to him, focusing on him, Shamar Lahu. My unwavering love, unrelenting devotion, enduring affection, and genuine favoritism, Chesed Eni, in addition to my family-oriented covenant, Beryth Eni, are truthfully presented and reliably established, verifiable and enduring through him, Amon Lahu. Dowd is announcing and Yahowah is affirming that they are father and son. Just as there is no one else that Yahowah personally anointed, Dowd stands alone as the Son of God. Further, Yahowah is offering his son to us as a gift. And this is insightful because it helps us appreciate the identity of the child who was born and the son who is given, in Yeshayahu/Isaiah 9 verse 6. When Dowd refers to Yahowah as his father and Yahowah responds by acknowledging that he perceives Dowd to be his son, they are describing the nature of their relationship and the way they interact with one another. They are not describing a biological connection but, instead, something far more profound. In a father/son relationship, the parent carries most of the responsibility and does the preponderance of the work. Fathers mentor sons, set an example for them to follow, and teach and guide them. Parents provide nourishment and shelter, apparel and protection for their children. The child also bears some responsibility. They must learn and accept the house rules and contribute to the family in some way once they are able. It's even better when sons respect their father and are appreciative, and it's best when they are able to advance the family business. And in this regard, Dowd was the perfect son. And this is one of the reasons why Dowd earned the right to be called Yahowah's Bakar firstborn. With this distinction he earned the right to wear his father's crown and share his throne. He would also inherit the birthright of a royal firstborn. Also, with the YYV existing to advance the rewards of the covenant, by fulfilling Pesach and Matzah, Dowd became the best-suited individual to exemplify the benefits of Bikurim firstborn children. The most electrifying term in the mix is Elion. When it is used throughout the Torah, it is addressing Almighty God. So, at the very least, Dowd is to be seen as over and above other men, the most distinguished of all. And, if we are to trust the Torah's definition, as is well advised, then Yahowah is presenting his son as God. While this would normally be shocking, it actually isn't. By design, sons are supposed to grow up and become like their fathers. And when it comes to this family, the benefits of the covenant, all of which Dowd helped provide by fulfilling the YYV, are specifically designed to make us more like God, enriching, empowering, and enlightening us. Moreover, as we transition from the material to the spiritual realm, we will grow exponentially in dimensions, going from 3 to 7, which is an infinite increase 4 times over. Lastly, as we approach the conclusion of this Mizmor, Yahowah will tell us that Dowd will become as brilliant as the sun in his presence. So, based upon all of this, we would be well served to read Elion as Almighty God. And so as not to risk shortchanging God's Son, then he is the Elion highest and uppermost. So please, let's silence the foolish religious rhetoric praising the likes of Jesus, Paul, Akiba, Muhammad, or Maimonides. Dowd's status is never going to change. We have God's word on it. He will continue to focus on his son throughout eternity. Yahowah's concluding statement speaks volumes. He is declaring for all of us to read that his love, affection, and mercy are best demonstrated and understood when we consider his relationship with Dowd. Further, the covenant is most accurately presented, affirmed, and verified when we examine Dowd's participation via his life and lyrics. It all begins with Kara. Father and son have invited us into the covenant family. We have been called out of this world so that we can be welcomed in heaven. By reading and reciting the Word of God, we find Father and Son summoning us to their side. When we capitalize on what Father and Son have done through the YYV to deliver the benefits of the covenant, we grow exponentially. Dowd has shown us the way. Follow him. Yah will remain attuned to Dowd, even throughout eternity, because he loves him as a father loves a son. God said, Chesed Eni Beryth Eni Amon Lahu, my unwavering love, unrelenting devotion, and enduring mercy are truthfully presented and will reliably endure with him as part of my covenant family. Even when they act up, parents never tire of their children. And when a child grows up to devote themselves to the betterment of the family, when they go about their father's business, every moment is a cause for celebration. This is not only why we have children, it is why we exist. According to God, Dowd is the most interesting and important man in the world. We devalue him and Yah's relationship with him at our peril. By contrast, if we do as Yahowah does, and, Shamar, closely examine and carefully consider his every word and deed, we will endure forever. Based on what Yahowah has to say about Dowd, it is prudent that we listen to him and follow his example. And I will establish, Wasim, appoint and preserve, his seed, that which he sows, and his offspring, Zerah, who, his posterity and descendants as well as what is yielded from the seeds he plants, as an eternal witness forever, la ed ad, as everlasting and enduring testimony and as evidence which serves as proof. And, his throne, Kais, who, his position and seat of honor, will be equated to the days of heaven, Kayam Shemaim, will be as time in the spiritual realm, which is everlasting. Mizmor/lyrics to sing Psalm 89 verse 29. The covenant's children are the beneficiaries of what Dowd has sown. And as such, we are his offspring, the legacy of the harvest he has provided. Through the son, the father has built a family. As a result, his place of honor in his offspring shall endure forever, as replete with time as are the days of heaven. We now know that the spiritual abode of God has a seat of honor, indeed a throne, one with Dowd's name written upon it. Therefore, it's not just throughout the millennial kingdom that we should expect to see Dowd shepherd his flock, but in heaven as well. If we wish to be there with him, it's important that we realize that where there is free will, there are choices to be made and alliances to be established and broken. Dowd chose wisely, electing to closely examine and carefully consider Yahowah's Torah. His 119th Mizmor Psalm, the 22-stanza alphabetic presentation of the Torah, remains one of the crowning achievements of his life. Unfortunately, those misled by the likes of Paul, Akiba, and Muhammad will face the consequences of having chosen poorly and, in particular, Yehudim, the direct descendants of Dowd. However, if, and yet on the contrary in condition, should the situation be that, his children, Beni who, his descendants, continue to forsake, ignore, or reject, Azab, they habitually neglect or abandon, depart from and disavow, Qowl imperfect, my Torah teaching and guidance, Torah any, my source of instruction and direction, and, Wah, if they make a habit of failing to walk, Wallo, Halak, and do not journey, conducting their lives, Qowl imperfect, according to my means to justly resolve disputes, ba mishpat any, within the parameters I've set to execute good judgment and to be discerning, a compound of ma, to ponder the implications of and shapat, making good decisions and being just, Mizmor 89:30, if, on the condition that they perpetually view my clearly communicated prescriptions for living with contempt, chukka any chalal, profaning and desecrating my conditions, dishonoring what I've enacted and constituted, Qowl imperfect, and, further, Wah. If they consistently fail to observe the instructive terms of the relationship, mitzvah, any lo, shamar, they fail to closely examine and carefully consider the requirements of the covenant, Qowl imperfect, Mizmor 89:31, then, Wah, I will hold them accountable, packet, I will consider all of these things and attend to them, with the measure, ba shebet, with the rod and scepter, of their religious rebellion and popular political revolt, pesha, hem, of their defiance and contrarian nature. The consequence of their deviation from the way and of their wrongdoing, A1 hem, their perversity and depravity, will be a pestilence which causes widespread death, ba niga, will be a sudden blow, physically infecting them such that they are plagued and die from the spread of the fungus. Mizmor/lyrics to sing Psalm 89 verse 32. According to God, souls who neglect the Torah, die. The consequence of ignoring Yah's teaching is to endure the plague of death. To reject God's guidance is to be held accountable. There is no substitute and no getting around it, not with the Talmud or Gospels, and most certainly not with the Quran. The Torah is the key to heaven. It provides Yahuwah's means to resolve disputes, Passover and unyeasted bread. Within it, we find Yah's clearly communicated prescriptions for living, Bikurim and Shabuah. Observing it leads the observant through Teruah to Kippurim and Sukkah, reconciled and at home. To deviate from Yahuwah's Torah teaching through religious rebellion has devastating consequences causing widespread death. Consider the fate of Jews since they last accepted Dowd's guidance in this regard as proof. Similarly, those who were infected by Paul's plague of death will die as a result of it. The New Testament is wrong. Annulling the Torah, forsaking, ignoring, and rejecting Yahuwah's teaching and guidance is deadly. There is no cure, no salvation, for those who fail to observe and appreciate God's means to resolve disputes, or who hold his clearly communicated prescriptions for living in contempt. Yahuwah's mercy is afforded to the thousands among billions who embrace the instructive terms of his relationship agreement. It's our choice, but we will be held accountable for those we continue to make about father and son. Those who would ignore or purloin what was attributed to Dowd to salvage their religious beliefs are not listening. They will either change their minds or they are out of their minds. Accordingly, Wah, my unwavering love, enduring devotion, unmitigated favoritism, affection, and generosity, Chesed any, my commitment to a loving relationship, to mercy and kindness, I will never remove from him or withdraw from being with him, lo, parar min, him who, I will not revoke, disassociate, or annul an association with him, hyphal imperfect, because I will never communicate something which is not true nor will I ever contradict, wa lo, shakar, I will not lie, deal falsely, deceive, or mislead, and thus never betray who I am, with regard to, Peel imperfect, my steadfast commitment to the truth, ba, immuna any, with regard to my trustworthiness and honesty, the fact that I am reliable and dependable, from, immune, my enduring truth and haman, my support and willingness to confirm and uphold that which is trustworthy, reliable, and verifiable and my continuing commitment to confirm that which is correct and accurate. Mizmor 89:33. I will never dishonor or betray, nor will I poke holes in, lo, chalal, I will never defile by treating as if it were common, and thus not uniquely special, holding in contempt, sullying or desecrating, and I will never perforate, creating loopholes which violate the nature and use of, Beryth any my covenant family, Beryth any, my family, my home, and my relationship agreement, nor will I ever alter, disguise, or change, wallo shana, and I will never rearrange, modify, adjust, or duplicate, Peel imperfect, that which has gone forth from, Moseh, that which at any stage of the journey has been placed on, issued and traveled from, uttered by, or exited out of, my lips, Safa any, my statements, language, and speech. Mizmor 89:34. Echad there is only one, Echad, once and for all, there is only one man, to whom I have affirmed the truth by having made a promise, Shabat, to whom I have validated my commitment through a sworn oath to be affirmed 7 times, Nifel perfect, at a point in time, the subject, Yahuwah, made this promise and at another, he will honor it, by Kodesh any my uniquely set apart nature, ba Kodesh any, by that which is set apart from me. If not to, Imla, if it isn't regarding, Dowd the beloved, Dowd, I will be proven a liar, Kazab, I have communicated that which is not true and is deceptive and false, and in the end will have failed through deception and delusion, Peel imperfect. Mizmor/lyrics to sing Psalm 89 verse 35. By itself, this would rank among Yahuwah's most influential statements. However, when combined with the others he has made throughout Dowd's song, God's citations speak more persuasively and passionately than anything ever said by God or man. These words are transformational and life-changing. I have established, cutting through separation, the Beryth covenant for the family and home, Beryth, through any backer my chosen one, the person I prefer and have decided upon, la backer any. I have sworn an oath, and I will affirm this promise 7 times over, Shabat, to Dowd the beloved, la Dowd, Ebed any my authorized agent and co-worker who serves on my behalf, Ebed any. 89:3. Forevermore, as an ad olam eternal witness to the restoring testimony, ad olam, I will prepare and establish, kun, your offspring and that which you sow, zerah ada. In addition, I will construct a home, wabana, for your throne and seat of honor, kais, ada, on behalf of all generations throughout time, la dower wadower, dot. 89:4. Therefore, in relation to this, logically, az, you spoke, daber, in a revelation, ba chazon, to, la, your bakram chosen and tested ones, bakram ada, saying, Amar, I have equated and bestowed, shawa, assistance, supplying what is needed, ezer, on behalf of, al, the Gibbor most courageous and capable man, Gibbor. I have raised up and exalted, rum, the Bahar chosen one, Bahar, from, min, the people, am. 89:19. I discovered and then made known, encountered, experienced, and exposed, Matzah, Dowd, Ebed any my co-worker, Ebed any. Out of, min, Shemen Kodesh any my set-apart oil, Shemen Kodesh any, I have Mashach anointed him, Mashach who, 89:20, so that, to show the way to the benefits of the relationship, Asher, my hand and influence, Yad any, will be established and steadfast, authenticated and unwavering, kun, with you, I'm Ada. In addition, and beyond this, Af, any Zeroah, my protective shepherd, strong arm, and sacrificial lamb, Zeroah, any, will empower and embolden you, strengthening you, while enabling your growth, Amitz Ada. 89:21. Therefore, Wa, my steadfast commitment to the truth, Immuna any, and, Wa, my unwavering love, persistent devotion, and enduring favoritism, my ongoing affection and genuine favoritism, Chisit any, are with him, I'm who, dot. In my name, Wa ba Shem any, his light will radiate and enlighten, and his brilliant horn, symbolic of his status and strength, and of his role as the protective ram among the sheep during Teruah, Karen who, will be lifted up, raised on high, and exalted, Rum. 89:24. He, himself, will call out to me and welcome me, announcing, Hu, Kara any, you are my father, of any Ada. 89:26, I, any, also, Af, will bestow him as a gift, appointing and making him, Nathan who, Bakar any my firstborn, Bakar any, as Elion Almighty God, the highest and uppermost, Elion, in comparison to the kings and rulers, La Melikim, of the earth, Eretz. 89:27. Accordingly, Wa, my unwavering love, enduring devotion, unmitigated favoritism, affection, and generosity, Chisit any, I will never revoke, disassociate or remove from him, nor withdraw from being with him, Lo, Paramin, Imhu. I will never betray who I am by communicating something which is misleading or untrue, nor will I ever contradict or undermine, Walo, Shakar, my steadfast commitment to uphold the truth and remain accurate and reliable, Ba, Immuna any. 89:33. I will never dishonor or betray, nor will I create loopholes which alter, Lo, Chalal, Beryth any my covenant family, Beryth any, nor will I ever alter, disguise, or change, rearrange, modify, or duplicate, Walo Shana, that which has gone forth from, Motza, my lips, Safa any. 89:34. Echad there is only one, Echad, to whom I have affirmed the truth by having made a promise, thereby validating my commitment which will be affirmed 7 times, Shaba, by Kodesh any my uniquely set-apart nature, Ba Kodesh any. If not to, through, and regarding, Imla, Dowd the beloved, Dowd, I am delusional and will be proven a liar, Kazab, dot. Mizmor 89:35. This is the bright line drawn by God in the sands of time. Presented in year 3000 Yah, 968 BCE, exactly 3,000 years after we were escorted out of Eden and 3,000 years before we will return to the garden. Yahowah undeniably and unequivocally presented his most impassioned plea to his people. His focus was on his family and his foremost son. This is the cornerstone of the family home which was laid upon Maria and which everyone rejected. Had Yehudim Jews listened, had they embraced and accepted Yahuwah's approach to Dowd and the covenant, Yisrael would have remained the brightest light in an enlightened world. The assaults of the Assyrians, Egyptians, Babylonians, Macedonians, and Romans would never have occurred. Dowd's return to fulfill the first 3 Moedim would have been celebrated, with God's people flocking to the covenant. Paul would have been immediately rebuked and discredited such that Christianity would never have existed. Akiba and his false messiah would have gone unheralded, nipping the emergence of Judaism in the bud. There would have been no diaspora and no oppression in Europe over the millennia. Without rabbis and their Talmud, Muhammad would not have had sufficient material to flesh out his Quran and Islam would have died in Petra. There would be no Dome of the Rock, no Al-Aqsa Mosque, and no Islamic terrorism. The Holocaust would never have occurred. Of all of the things to ignore, these declarations from Yahuwah were the costliest and most debilitating. The relationship God intended was replaced by religion, and humankind suffered, estranged from Yah as a consequence. This is in your face, against the very existence of the Haredian Christians. You have done this to yourselves, necessitating Yahuwah's rebuke. Who are you to demand that God change everything he has said and done to accommodate you and your perverted religions? It is you who have called God a liar through your Talmud and New Testament. It is you who have replaced Yahuwah's covenant with one of your own, poking holes in his in the process, defiling it. In particular, Christians, believing Shayol Paul over father and son, have created the most common, and thus profane, religion in the history of mankind by transferring the promises made to Dowd into Yisra'el, such that they were given to the mythological misnomer, Jesus Christ. Shame on them for believing and promoting contradictions of Yahuwah's testimony, for undermining the measure of his mercy, and the reliability of his testimony. There will be no accommodation for a gospel of grace, for salvation by faith, for a New Testament, for Jesus Christ being the Messiah, the Son of God, the King of Kings, or the Savior. To claim otherwise is to call God a liar. And while these words from our God serve as a deathblow to Christianity 1,000 years before Paul thrust his demonic devotion upon an unsuspecting world, his New Testament was not the gravest crime. How did 150 generations of Jewish sages, scholars, and rabbis over the course of 3,000 years all manage to deny the obvious? Why did they collectively and individually deprive Jews of knowing Yahuwah through his son, Dowd? Why did they prevent the salvation of several hundred million Jewish souls? Why isn't there a single credible Jewish sage, scholar, or rabbi on record affirming and promoting the impassioned message of Father and Son? Everything, literally everything, including the survival of Yisra'el and humankind, the salvation of our souls, is predicated upon the words Yahuwah spoke to us 3,000 years ago in the 89th Mizmor/Psalm. And this bold declaration does not stand alone but is, instead, reinforced by the entirety of the Torah and prophets. It is the same wonderfully consistent and enormously loving message throughout. This is just the grand crescendo of the chorus. The reason this is so is because Father and Son fulfilled the YYV together. This is the cornerstone of the family home. We find and embrace the Father through the Son. They are inseparable and they are becoming indistinguishable. Elion. There is one God with a single Torah. He has one covenant, albeit 7 YYV to bring us home. There is one Messiah, one Son of God, and a single Passover lamb. He is our Savior. This shall never change or be altered in any way. Nothing Yahuwah revealed has been annulled, especially his love for his firstborn, Dowd. His offspring and that which he sows, Zerah, who, his descendants, his posterity, his family, and his seed, that which he propagates by having planted, will exist and endure, Haya, have been, are, and will be, Kal imperfect, forever, La'alam, eternally throughout all time. And, Wah, his place of honor, his dignity and authority, as well as his adornment, Kais, who, his throne, seat of sovereign leadership and power, from Kais, authority and power and Kaza, to cover, clothe, and adorn, will be as, Ka, will be comparable to, brilliant as the sun, Ha-Shemesh, the sunlight, before me, Neged Eni, as my conspicuous counterpart in my presence, openly in proximity to me. Mizmor 89:36. Similar to Ka, in the manner of the moon, Yerich, he is established, Kun, he is appointed and prepared, trusted and set in place, Nifel imperfect third-person masculine singular, forevermore, Alam, eternally throughout time, while serving as an enduring and reliable, truthful and dependable, Wa'aman, being an easily verified, confident and trustworthy, loyal and nurturing, Nifel participle, witness, ed, symbol and informative source of restoring testimony, in the universe, ba. Hashachak, in spacetime for laughter and play, dot. Pause now and contemplate what you have just read, Selah. Mizmor/lyrics to sing/Psalm 89 verse 37. What Dowd has articulated and accomplished will take root and grow, yielding an eternal harvest. He will endure forevermore as will his offspring, the children of the covenant. The Son's dignity and authority, as well as the symbols of his majesty, will be as brilliant as the sun in his Father's presence. Adorned in the vestiges of his calling, Dowd will become Yahuwah's most conspicuous counterpart. The moon, while 400 times smaller than the sun, is 400 times closer to the earth. And the moon, comprised of the essence of the earth, is illuminated as a result of reflecting the sun's light. These serve as metaphors that portray the proper perspective to view the firstborn. By describing him as the second most important luminary, compared to his father, Yahuwah is conveying to us that Dowd's arrivals are important markers of time. The 7 Moedim he has and will fulfill are all predicated upon how we view the sun and moon. Also, it was in the fullness of the moon's light that Dowd fulfilled Pesach and Matzah. And it will be under the light of a full moon that we will camp out with our king during Sukkah. Dowd is not only Yahuwah's most enduring and reliable witness, but he is also the most readily verified source of restoring testimony. It is a role he has carried out so well over the years, and it will continue forevermore. As we shachak laugh and play throughout space and time, our steps will be guided by Dowd's reflection of the Almighty's light. Christians can take their Madonna and child, her baby, Jesus, their dead God on a stick, and their second coming, and stick them where the sun don't shine, because they do not belong in Yah's world. And as for the Haredi in their horrifyingly morbid mourning clothes, they are perfectly suited to continue worshipping dead rabbis while giving lip service to the Hashem they do not know and the Torah they have replaced, all while awaiting the arrival of their unknown Messiah. As for the enlightened, the informed, rational, and reasonable, here is the second third of Dowd's song. One day soon, I hope you will join me and the covenant family when singing this to our king. As such, I will place, my hand, Yad Eni, into, Ba, the sea, Ha-Yam, and my right side, Yam and Eni, adjacent to flowing waters, Ba Ha-Nahar. Mizmor 89:25 repositioned. The adversary, Oyeb, will not outweat or nullify him, never negating his value or annulling his purpose, Shoah, Ba-Hu. And, the son of evil, Ben, Allah, will not deny him or denigrate him because he will have no answer for him, Lo, Anahu. Mizmor 89:22. And so, I will pulverize and crush, vanquish and incarcerate, Kathath, his foes, especially those who seek to constrain and restrict him, Zarihu. Then, out of his presence, Min Panahu, I will plague, Negath, those who shun him by attempting to decrease his status, Sain, Hu. Mizmor 89:23. Therefore, my steadfast commitment to the truth, Imuna Eni, and, my unwavering love, determined devotion, and enduring favoritism, my ongoing affection and genuine favoritism, Chisat Eni, are with him, I'm Hu. In my name, Ba Shem Eni, his light will radiate and enlighten and his brilliant horn, symbolic of his status and strength, and of his role as the protective ram among the sheep during Pesach and Teruah, Karen Hu, will be lifted up, raised on high, and exalted, Rom. Mizmor 89:24. He, himself, will call out to me and welcome me, announcing, Hu, Kara, Eni, you are my father, of Eni, Ada. Mizmor 89:26. I, Eni, also, Av, will bestow him as a gift, appointing and making him, Nathan Hu, Bakar Eni my firstborn, Bakar Eni, as Elion Almighty God, the highest and uppermost, Elion, in comparison to the kings and rulers, La Melikim, of the earth, Beryths. Mizmor 89:27. For all eternity, La, Aulam, I will keep watch over him, paying very close attention to him, focusing on him, Shamar Lahu. My unwavering love, unrelenting devotion, enduring affection, and genuine favoritism, Chisit Eni, in addition to my family-oriented covenant, Wa Beryth Eni, are truthfully presented and reliably established, verifiable and enduring through him, Amon Lahu. Mizmor 89:28. And I will establish, Wa Sim, his seed, that which he sows, especially his offspring, Zerah, who, as an eternal witness forever, La, Ed/Ad. And, Wa, his throne and dignity, Kais, who, will be equated to the days of heaven, Kayam Shemaim. Mizmor 89:29. However, if, his children, Beni who, continue to forsake, ignore, neglect, or reject, Azab, my Torah teaching and guidance, Torah, Eni, and, Wa, they make a habit of failing to walk, Wa lo, Halak, according to my means to justly resolve disputes, Ba Mishpat Eni, Mizmor 89:30, if, they perpetually view my clearly communicated prescriptions for living with contempt, Chukka, Eni Chalal, and, further, Wa, if they consistently fail to observe the instructive terms of the relationship, mitzvah, Eni lo, Shamar, Mizmor 89:31, then, Wa, I will hold them accountable, Packet, with the full measure, Ba Shebet, of their religious rebellion and popular political revolt, Pesha, Hem. The consequence of their deviation from the way and of their wrongdoing, Awan Hem, will be a pestilence which causes widespread death, Ba Niga. Mizmor 89:32. Accordingly, Wa, my unwavering love, enduring devotion, unmitigated favoritism, affection, and generosity, Chisit Eni, I will never revoke, disassociate or remove from him, nor withdraw from being with him, Lo, Paramin, Imhu. I will never betray who I am by communicating something which is misleading or untrue, nor will I ever contradict or undermine, Walo, Shakar, my steadfast commitment to uphold the truth and remain accurate and reliable, Ba, Imuna Eni. Mizmor 89:33. I will never dishonor or betray, nor will I create loopholes which alter, Lo, Chalal, Beryth Eni my covenant family, Beryth Eni, nor will I ever amend, disguise, or change, rearrange, modify, or duplicate, Walo Shana, that which has gone forth from, Motza, my lips, Safa Eni. Mizmor 89:34. Echad there is only one, Echad, to whom I have declared the truth by having made a promise, thereby validating my commitment which will be affirmed 7 times, Shaba, by Kodesh Eni my uniquely set-apart nature, Ba Kodesh Eni. If not to, through, and regarding, Imla, Dowd the beloved, Dowd, I am delusional and will be proven a liar, Gazab. Mizmor 89:35. His offspring and that which he sows, Zerah, who, will exist and endure, Haya, forever, La, Aulam. And, Wa, his place of honor, his dignity and authority, as well as his adornment, Kais, who, will be as, Ka, brilliant as the sun, Ha-Shemesh, before me as my conspicuous counterpart, Negd Eni. Mizmor 89:36. Similar to, Ka, the moon, Yerich, he is established, appointed, set in place, and trusted, Kun, forevermore throughout time, Aulam, while serving as an enduring and reliable, truthful and dependable, Wa Aman, witness and source of restoring testimony, Ed, in the universe of spacetime for laughter and play, Ba Ha-Shachak. Pause now and contemplate what you have read, Selah. Mizmor 89:37. Yisra'el, there is no plea more impassioned, no invitation more vital, no person more beneficial. The Zeroah is calling you home. Yod Hey. At long last, we have reached the transition from benefit to consequence within the 89th Mizmor. This is the portion of Dowd's song that was alluded to in 2 Shamuel 7 when Yahowah predicted that his people would deny and denigrate the Son of God and Messiah. After all of these years of trying, we have finally come to understand this most intriguing of prophecies. And prior to this time, we were ill-equipped to process what follows. But now if I may restate the assessment presented at the conclusion of our review of Yahowah's prophetic pronouncement to Dowd, I think we'll see what follows more clearly. Dowd exemplifies and represents more than one individual man. Even more than Jacob, Dowd is Yisra'el. The promises made to him were made to them, from being the children of God and heirs to the covenant, to being recipients of the land. His joys and heartaches, his ongoing battles with Gowan, his insights and confusion, the benefits he enjoyed in concert with the covenant and the consequences he endured when he ran afoul of it, are all shared by the nation he shepherded. It was in concert with Dowd representing Yisra'el, and of Yisrael's contribution to annulling the truths we have just considered, that these words were prophetically inscribed in parallel with 2 Shamuel 7. After all, it is Yisra'el that has. But now, you, yourselves, have refused to accept, creating a foul stench by snubbing, Zanuck, your stagnation and lack of movement has caused you to be excluded and throw out for a time, Cal perfect, such that, you have rejected by diminishing the merit of, even spurning over time by repudiating the essence of, Ma'az, you have minimized the value of, thereby limiting your relationship with and reliance upon so as to incur a festering wound caused by dissolving every sensible connection, Cal imperfect, improperly, and on your own initiative, meddling while presumptuously passing over, unjustifiably passing right by in antipathy, somehow displeased with the affairs, and yet acting on your own initiative, thereby eliminating, Hitpeel stem perfect conjugation, for a time, and on their own initiative, moving right past, is the basis of Pesach and thus Passover. Ada Mashiach your Messiah, I'm Mashiach Ada. You're anointed, the one set apart and prepared to serve you. Mizmor/lyrics to sing/Psalm 89 verse 38. I'm speechless other than to say Yahowah's phrasing and timing are impeccable. He has affirmed this profound truth so many times in ways it's befuddling that as few as 1 in a million Yehudim acknowledge Dowd, or that 5 billion Gowan bequeath the Greek variation of this title on another. After enduring 2,000 years of harassment for failing to accept Jesus as their Messiah, it turns out Jews were correct. Now it's time to take the next step and recognize the Mashiach for who he truly is so that the family can be reconciled. If you are a descendant of Jacob or Dowd, pause now and reflect upon this. Almost everything religious and secular Jews have claimed regarding Dowd David, their anticipated Mashiach, and the fulfillment of the Moedim, is untrue, appended, and incongruent. Please get with the program and embrace what Dowd represents and then accept the realization that he is not only HaMashiach the Messiah but, also, the Son of God who served as the Pesach Isle. Do not pass over him in an ill-conceived attempt to validate Judaism. I understand that Yehudim have been plagued over the centuries by those who believe Jesus Christ was the Messiah. And because Christians blame Jews for killing their myth, the very idea of the Messiah being the Son of God and fulfilling Pesach is disorienting. And while there never was any rational reason for a Messiah named Jesus Christ, no validity to the religion of Christianity, no justification for the New Testament, or credibility in calling oneself a Christian, there has been incalculable harm perpetrated under these delusions. And while that may have been the most horrific and anti-Semitic fraud ever perpetrated, the truth is sweet revenge. The Messiah was here, and he was the Son of God. He not only fulfilled Pesach, Matzah, and Bikurim, one does not have to change his name or append his identity to accept any one of the many hundreds of prophecies which point to this moment in time. Perhaps worse than removing Yahuwah's name 7,000 times from his testimony in the Torah, Nabi, Wa Mizmor and replacing it with the adversary's title, the Lord, this error in judgment and lapse of character has caused more harm to Yehudim Jews than any other. They ought not to have been looking to the future for a Messiah to save them when he had already been the most prominent and protective man in their past. Dowd's name would not have been changed to Jesus Christ, and Christianity's New Testament would have been stillborn, had the actual identity and purpose of Yahuwah's Messiah been acknowledged by his people. In that it has been conveyed by Yahuwah, let's affirm a heartbreaking reality: Jews have been their own worst enemy. The hit peel stem, modifying abar, by improperly, and on your own initiative, meddling while presumptuously passing over your Messiah, proves it. This uncommon stem reveals that the religious have unjustifiably passed right by him in antipathy, somehow displeased with his affairs, all while acting on their own initiative, and, thus, not God's. Equally telling, abar is the basis of Pesach and thus Passover, equating the rejection of the Messiah with foregoing the purpose of the Mikra. On behalf of Yehuda and Yisra'el, even the Gowan who are listening, accept and embrace the beloved Mashiach and Melech as your brother and as God's son, even as your shepherd, but mostly as your savior. Listen to Yahuwah's Bahar chosen one, the Kadosh set apart one of Yisrael, and concur with him because when it comes to God, Dowd is right. As for religious Jews, it is a perplexing irony. Wearing black and bobbing their heads up and down as if to exorcise their demons, they babble to their nameless GD in minions facing a stone wall while reciting Dowd's Mizmor from rote. If only they would consider what he had to say instead. If only their heads were not as hard as the Edomites' wall, some of what they recite might actually penetrate their thick skulls. But alas, it is not to be. Dowd's Mizmor and Yahuwah's Daber are for the non-religious. It wouldn't take long for Yehudim to hit rock bottom. The fall from Dowd was swift and painful. It began with Solomon capitulating to accommodate the religious interests of his wives and concubines. Reminding Yisrael of their fall, and of the religions they begot and those they beguiled, Yahuwah declares. You have repudiated and renounced, Nayar, you have disavowed, refusing to even acknowledge and actually lack any respect for, Peel perfect, the covenant, Beryth, the family, home, and relationship agreement, with your co-worker, Ebed Ada, of the one doing your work as your official advisor and associate, based upon, Abad, to work. You have dishonored and defiled, Chalal, you have treated with contempt and desecrated by making common and no longer uniquely special, sullying and polluting, Peel perfect, his dedication, Nezerhu, his respect and his unparalleled devotion, to the land, Laha Eretz. Mizmor/lyrics to sing/Psalm 89 verse 39. When Dowd is renounced, so are the Moedim he fulfilled. When Dowd is repudiated, so is the covenant he enabled. When Dowd is dishonored, the land to which he was devoted suffers. What I do not understand, and I don't think Yah does either, is, with the conditions of his covenant so liberating and uplifting, with the benefits so enriching and empowering, and with him proving that his promises are reliable, why disavow and replace what God is offering? With Dowd so generous, why disavow what he accomplished and reject what he is offering? For those who may be protesting, saying that they haven't repudiated Dowd because they honor David by having chosen to fly a flag emblazoned with his star, may I challenge said assumption by categorically stating that there was never a star of David and David isn't his name. Creating a false caricature of a man in this manner degrades his authentic nature. A little explanation may be helpful as we consider the next statement. The sheepfold whose walls have been torn down represents barriers around the covenant which were designed to keep the religious, political, conspiratorial, and ignorant out. You have broken down and destroyed, parrots, you have breached and in hostility shattered, negatively impacting with your opposition to, Qowl perfect, his entire sheepfold and all of its walls, Qowl Gadarahu, the entirety of his protective enclosure and its hedges, from Gator, the fences put around it and the way he constructed it. You have caused, Sim, you have brought about, Qowl perfect, the undoing, the degradation and destruction, Machada, the demolishing and ruination, to the point of disrepair by corrupting, from Ma, to question in Chada, what it means to miss the way, of his fortifications, Mipsarhu, of its defensive structure, from Batsar, to restrain from gathering, to cut off and make less accessible, withholding access. Mizmor/lyrics to sing/Psalm 89 verse 40. As a rebuke to every religion, Yahowah has deliberately restricted access to his covenant, effectively keeping the religious and political out. Ignorant or averse to the 5 instructional terms God set as his conditions for entry, men like Akiba and Paul have sought to annul the Almighty's intent while projecting their own. Let's be blunt, the Garden of Eden had walls. They were not there to keep Adam and Chawah locked inside as if they were prisoners but, instead, to keep the rest of humankind out because they were religious and did not belong. The gone protective garden enclosure of Eden great joy was, as the name implies, fun, because the curmudgeons were excluded. And as was Eden, so will be Shemaim. As was God's relationship with Dowd, so it will be with all of the covenant's children. That is why this Mizmor psalm is so important. Dowd and the covenant continue to be integrated and indistinguishable, with the beloved upholding and representing the family such that an attack on one is an assault on the other. All who pass by this way, Qowl, Abar Derek, everyone crossing this path, plunder him, Shassas who, they pillage and ransack him, looting him. He has become, he is, scorned and abusively ridiculed, defied and upbraided, chirpa, insulted and held in contempt, even taunted by this disgraceful reproach, by those who claim some affinity with him, Lashaken who, by those settling in close proximity, especially nations of people existing all around it and him, even as residents and neighbors. Mizmor/lyrics to sing/Psalm 89 verse 41. Claiming to have an affinity with David is common. His name appears in the New Testament, Talmud, and Quran. Similarly, Christians, Jews, and Muslims, with wholly contradictory belief systems, all claim to be Abrahamic religions even though they degrade Abraham's legacy. Alleging similar origins, their gods share nothing in common. Christians are particularly guilty, lugging around the Old Testament with its tribute to Dowd David around with their revised one which plunders his legacy. They claim an affinity for the boy who slew the giant and who sang the 23rd Psalm, not knowing that it is Yahowah, for whose name's sake, the song was written. Then of course, in that they blame Jews for all of their problems, they must deny that he was the most Yahud of all men. Even in the Quran, there is an entire surah devoted to Dowd. The only problem is that this impostor was a Muslim and worshipped Allah. Confronted with the Dead Sea Scrolls parchment memorializing this psalm 1,000 years before their religion was invented, I wonder how a literate Muslim would react after seeing Yahowah's name rather than Allah's. Many of those who pass this way ransack the covenant, ridiculing everything Dowd represents by taking it from him and giving it to themselves or others. They jeopardize countless lives by falsely claiming affinity with either David or the covenant and then advocating on behalf of their New Testament, Talmud, or Quran. And sadly, many of them have settled in proximity to Yisra'el. Today we know them as the practitioners of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Speaking of the religious, whether they be pilgrims or refugees, crusaders or jihadists, God says, "You have lifted up and exalted, you have raised up and have sought to bring credibility and distinction to, even tried to justify, the upper hand, Yamim, the right side, condoning the orientation and good fortune, even the direction, of his foes and adversaries, especially those who try to constrain and limit him, Zar. His opponents narrowing his scope by being contentious and troubling leading to an unfavorable result. You have caused all those who demonstrate animosity and rancor toward him, Qowl Oyeb, you have made the opposition totally, to be delighted, Samak, elated." Mizmor/lyrics to sing/Psalm 89 verse 42. God has made his point. He, as you'd expect of any loving father, is angry and annoyed by what those who falsely claim to speak for him have done to denigrate his son and diminish all he accomplished through him. It was Jews who gave the upper hand to those who would later seek to destroy them. The 4 most toxic belief systems were all founded and abetted by Jews, Judaism, Christianity, Islam, and socialism. By their failure to acknowledge that Dowd was the Messiah and Son of God, and that he returned to fulfill Pesach, Matzah, and Bikurim as predicted, Yehudim opened the door for Christianity. Through their denials, they helped justify replacement theology. For Christianity to differentiate itself from Yahowah and Dowd, from their Torah and covenant, enough to become popular with Greeks and Romans, they would need a New Testament. And yet for it to be believable, it would have to borrow heavily from Yahowah's testimony, claiming its prophecies as their own. Therefore, the new religion proposed that it was authorized by the same God and justified by the same prophecies. But how is that possible when one outcome is so contradictory to the other? The answer for Christianity became replacement theology. This sleight of hand wasn't simply about assigning the blessings and promises offered by God for Jews to the Gentiles who seek their eradication, it's about replacing one covenant with another, and then Yahowah and Dowd with Jesus. If you don't concur, do what I've done. After scrutinizing Paul's renunciation of Dowd for the sake of his Jesus, go to any Christian site and read their assessment of every prophecy pertaining to David. You'll find that Jesus isn't named in a single prophecy, but every time Dowd's name appears, Christians insist that it actually applies to Christ, as if God doesn't know the difference between the two names nor is aware of which one he anointed his Mashiach Messiah. The problem for Christians was as simple as it is profound. Without the Torah, prophets, and Psalms, they have no God and no credibility. But with them, they present a jumble of contradictions. Their only hope was for people to believe their lies and for their faith to occlude judgment. They banked upon apathy and ignorance. For the most part, they got it. And yet today, at least for some, there is a battle for hearts and souls raging throughout the world, a struggle between right and wrong. The loudest voices are of those who claim that they worship religious gods while the chorus of those who stand with Dowd and speak for Yahowah is currently faint among these billions. What's worse, and adding to the resentment, all the more to begrudge, you are turned around again, Shub, you have pivoted such that you are pointed in the opposite direction, Hyphal imperfect, having assaulted, besieged, bound up, and constrained the rocky crag, Sur, having been adverse to the stone, Cal infinitive, of his battle for Choreb who, of his fight with sword and chisel for the fire of Yah and revelation of his Torah, such that, you do not stand with him. Or support him, who, you do not rise up or take a stand with him, perfect, in this conflict, in this fight between opposing parties, from Lakham, to engage in battle over yeasted bread, for QPs says, fourth battle. Mizmor/lyrics to sing/Psalm 89 verse 43. There is a plethora of tantalizing insights in this statement, beginning with the realization that Afa's primary connotation is to engender resentment and wrath. Those who continue to turn against Dowd will endure the sting of his judgment. Also interesting, while Tzur is translated as the edge in the Jewish Publication Society Holy Scriptures according to the Masoretic text, it was scribed as a verb. There was no definite article in the text, and edge is not among Tzur's meanings when presented as a noun. Had it been written as a noun, our options would have been rocky crag, sharp flint, or stone. In the Qowl infinitive, Tzur is not only active, but it also intensifies the actual and ongoing action of laying siege, enclosing, binding, and confining in a hostile and harassing fashion. This makes perfect sense because the perpetrators engendering Dowd's wrath continue to be the Jewish religious leaders who have sought to constrain the Savior by assaulting his achievements. Further, if we are to read rocky crag or stone into this depiction, it was upon this sharp rocky edifice that YAHOWAH first revealed his fiery light to Moseh and then the children of Yisra'el upon Mount Choreb, where he would also reveal his Torah. Moreover, it is my contention that Dowd's song is the cornerstone of the covenant home and that it was revealed in the Yabel year of 3000 968 BCE, 4 years into Solomon's reign as construction began on YAHOWAH's home. The Hebrew name for the mountain upon which YAHOWAH introduced himself to Moseh and then revealed the Torah is Choreb. Spelled the same way in the text, it also serves as the Hebrew word for dry and desolate, battle and conflict, sword and chisel. And while we can choose any definition that works within this context, we are prudent to include each that fits so as not to deprive the reader of the full intent. In this case, I see Dowd standing between the two mountains of God, Choreb and Moriah, bringing the Torah to the heart of the land and fulfilling it in the city of Dowd. This is not only evident by the king's marvelous dissertation on the Torah as teaching in the 119th Mizmor but also by his serving as the Pesach Isle. There is a battle being waged for the souls of humankind. The religious are on one side and father and son are on the other. And while Judaism and Christianity have written YAHOWAH and Dowd, Choreb and Moriah, the Torah and Micro-EY out of their story, father and son are battling to bring them all back to Yisrael's attention. There has been a war of words for the past 3,000 years, to Dowd or not to Dowd. It is the ultimate question because where we stand with Dowd characterizes where we stand with God. This war has often erupted in bloody conflict. The two Assyrian and Babylonian conquests, the two Roman wars against the tiny province of Yehuda Judea, the abuse Jews have suffered under Roman Catholics during the Crusades, under the Ottomans, by the whole of Europe, by the Nazis and Soviets, and today by Islamic jihadists and progressives serve as proof that the world is against Dowd and his people. With the exception of those who have come to know YAHOWAH and his beloved Son, many through these books, this remains true of almost everyone else. You have truncated, causing a cessation to all of the work, Shabat. You have made this like a Sabbath for doing nothing, perfect, removing and taking away from, his purifying brilliance and means to restore, along with his glorious status, Tahar his majesty and ability to renew, his clear and illuminating approach, especially the means to being purified and pronounced clean. And his position of honor, dignity, and power, Wakais, his throne, royal authority, and appointed status, even his brilliant adornment, you have hurled to the ground, Lamager ha-eretz, you have thrown into the dirt, tossing it from the land, Qowl perfect. Mizmor/lyrics to sing/Psalm 89 verse 44. Clearly, God is annoyed. He is disgusted that the beloved Son that he anointed as his Mashiach, the shepherd he chose to establish his covenant family, and the sacrificial lamb who opened heaven's door, has been so universally discounted by religious Jews. They have done to Dowd what they have done to the Shabat, reducing both from a celebration of the covenant relationship to doing nothing. And in this case, by either failing to read the words YAHOWAH inspired in Dowd's song, or failing to act upon them, religious Jews brought untold misery upon God's people. The failure of rabbis to recognize and capitalize upon what Dowd represents and has accomplished is the fulcrum upon which the Jewish people have descended when they should have ascended. They were given the opportunity to restore their relationship with YAHOWAH and come clean by accepting Dowd's fulfillment of Chag Matzah. They would have been welcomed back into the covenant by embracing Dowd's glorious status as the chosen Messiah and glorious Lamb. But the rabbis not only forewent all of this, but they also tossed it all away, hurling Dowd's dignity to the ground. Dowd was chosen by YAHOWAH and anointed with his spirit at 8 years old. And from what we have discovered, his best writing and his most profound spiritual insights were distilled within these songs when his mind was young and receptive and when he was fraught with the fewest distractions. Over time, the relentless burden of being responsible for miserable ingrates grew wearisome, as it did for Moseh. You have cut short, so as to deprive yourselves of what is required to reap the benefits of the harvest, Katsar, you are lacking what is needed by depreciating his essential essence, the days, Yaumim, the time, when his robust presence was concealed as a young man, Alumim who, when he was vigorous and obscured, manifesting tremendous strength of character, plural, from Alam, to cloak and veil, Alam, in the past and forevermore, Elam, while young. You have covered over him, Ada Alhu, you have enveloped and clad him, enwrapping and veiling him, shamefully by diminishing his status, Busha, plundering, dishonoring, and dismissing his purpose. Take a moment and consider the implications, Selah, pause now to reflect on this. Mizmor/lyrics to sing/Psalm 89 verse 45. There is a consequence to being wrong, especially when what we believe is in conflict with what YAHOWAH has made known to us. We cheat ourselves when we deprive Dowd of what rightfully belongs to him because it shortchanges what he can offer us. In this case, religious Jews are being accused of depriving themselves of what Dowd has provided such that they are not harvestable. They have vigorously obscured what he achieved during the fulfillment of Pesach and Matzah. They do not even acknowledge Dowd's robust presence in Jerusalem in the Yobel year of 4000 in 33 CE, even though he provided them with the exact day he would enter the city as their Messiah to fulfill Passover in Daniel 9. Instead of admiring, respecting, and appreciating the Son of God and sacrificial lamb, they have veiled him in shame, disgracefully covering over what he achieved and, thereby, dishonoring him. At this time, the psalmist asks a rhetorical question for God's people to ponder. While the interval of time being questioned was of God's choosing, being unknown for that long is counter to everything he intended. He has done his part, making it relatively easy for those who are serious in their pursuit to become acquainted with him. He has systematically provided, and simultaneously validated, the authenticity of his revelation to us. Within it, we are given everything we need to know to engage in a relationship with Yahuwah, to be invited into his home as part of his family. The reason that so few have availed themselves of this marvelous opportunity is that religion and government, militarism and conspiracism, have gotten in the way, obscuring the view and cluttering the path. For how long, Adma, until when will the eternal witness and restoring testimony of Yahuwah, Yahowah, the proper pronunciation of the name of Eloah, God as directed in his Torah, teaching regarding his higher existence and our shalom, restoration, will you remain hidden, concealed, and virtually unknown, Sathar, will you be a secret to many? Your righteous indignation, overt displeasure, and furious antagonism, Kima, Ada, your hostile response to all that is wrong, is kindled and burns, Baar, is ignited and ablaze, Kal imperfect, eminently and prominently, La Netzach, majestically for an enduring period, like fire, Kamo Esh, similar to burning flames. Mizmor/lyrics to sing/Psalm 89 verse 46. The last time the majority of Yisraelites knew Yahuwah was 3,000 years ago under Dowd's initial reign as king. Since that time, and until quite recently, that number dwindled to 0. It would not be until we began to post the Yada Yahowah series online that this began to change. And to think, the 1.8 million Haredi are so intellectually incapacitated by their rabbis, they will continue to engender Yahuwah's overt antagonism and burning indignation without any hope of future awareness. All the while, they disparage father and son by claiming that their appalling religion is righteous. These books are labeled Yada Yahowah for a reason. It seems more appropriate to please our God rather than continually antagonize him. There are already 1,800,000 shrill Jewish voices and another 4 billion Christians and Muslims fanning the flames of divine wrath. 3 millennia is a very, very long time, at least by our standards, but perhaps not by God's. Time does not flow for him as it does for us. Unlike creatures bound to the earth, Yahuwah, as a spiritual being, determines how he experiences time, varying the pace of its flow to suit his needs. The 19 to 20 centuries which have crawled past since the Messiah, Dowd, fulfilled Chag Matzah were so horrid, it's unlikely God paid attention to anything which occurred during that span. Fortunately, we have reached the conclusion of this interval. With each word we translate and share, Yahuwah becomes less hidden and unknown to his people. When father and son return on Yom Kippurim, the day of reconciliations in year 6000 Yah, October 2nd at sunset, 2033 in Jerusalem, he will be known to the extent it is possible. Not surprisingly, that is the stated purpose for his Choder Sukkar, his Nakri observant foreigner, and his Nes banner. Moreover, within 7 years of this writing in 2023, we can expect El Yah is God Elijah and Yada he knows to arrive and let the world know in no uncertain terms just how displeased God is with humankind. And now it gets personal, as it should with all of us. You have chosen to remind me, Zakar Eni, your will is to recall this information and these events to me, asserting these truths for me, Kal imperative second person masculine singular, to ask about the duration of life in this world and temporary things by contrast to eternity, especially how time flows differently relative to the observer, Machield. What is one lifetime and how long will things continue to transpire in this world at the present pace? Was it for nothing, Al-Mashawa, was it for this worthless religious vanity, that you created, Bara, that you conceived and brought into existence once upon a time, Kal perfect, each of the sons of Adam, Kol Beni Adam, all of humankind? Mizmor/lyrics to sing/Psalm 89 verse 47. Yahuwah chose to share these events and this information about Dowd with the wisest member of Solomon's council. He did so in the Yobel year of 3000 Yah, 968 BCE at the commencement of the construction of his home. As a result, this Mizmor has become the cornerstone of the covenant. Revealed in the exact center of mankind's journey out of the garden and back to Eden, Dowd's song serves as a marker in time. 1,000 years to the day, on Passover in year 4000 Yah, God's beloved Son served as the Zeroah, sacrificial lamb and fulfilled Pesach, Matzah, and Bikurim to redeem his people and enable the covenant's blessings. 40 Yobel thereafter he would return to reconcile the remnant of Yisra'el on Yom Kippurim. The thought of the Messiah suffering in this manner is hard to fathom from our perspective, but not from his father's or his in his company. What are 2 hellish days compared to an eternity with one's family? The anguishing memory of the sacrifice would pass while the covenant he enabled would endure forever. The 3 epochs of 40 Yobel, each lasting 2,000 years, may seem like an interminable period, however, for God, and for those with him in the spiritual realm of the heavens of the 7th dimension, it equates to the blink of the eye. Time is relative, albeit not here for us, not now. The period from the expulsion from Eden to the affirmation of the covenant with Abraham allowing us to re-enter would be 40 Yobel. Another 2,000 years would pass from our perspective looking back until father and son delivered the benefits of the covenant by fulfilling Passover, unyeasted bread, and firstborn children to enable the enriching and emancipating experience of 7 sevens. And from the fulfillment of the first 3 mode in year 4000 Yah to the return of father and son the final epoch of 40 Yobel would pass, bringing us to 2033 CE, less than 10 years from now. This is the duration of things, God's timing as these events play out and we witness them. So much of it revolves around Dowd, the Messiah, Son of God, and Passover Lamb, that this song was written to commemorate him and them. Rest assured, YAHOWAH did not conceive humankind for us to be religious and antagonistic. Therefore, to save us from ourselves, Father and Son resolved the issues which separate us and composed these lyrics to showcase their resolve. As we have discovered, YAHOWAH initiates the relationships he desires to form, leaving our response subject to our own free will. He picks and chooses from among the few men and women he has encountered along life's way such that those he reaches out to must amuse him, impress him, or just pique his interests in some way. And yet, they all have something in common, in that each one has walked away from religion and politics prior to Yah's introduction. They were all willing to listen, even go where he was leading. Free will works both ways. YAHOWAH has it and so do we. It's his universe and his home and he is entitled to invite whomever he pleases to spend eternity with him in it as long as he is consistent in his approach. That isn't to say that it is impossible to find YAHOWAH independently, but as the previous statement suggests, God is hidden from most. The reason so few know him is because men like Paul have plagued the world with their lies. So just as Shaul was called out by name and condemned as the plague of death in Habakkuk, the son of evil is similarly identified in the 89th Mizmor Psalm. He authored the New Testament's 14 most deadly tomes and inspired almost everything else. And if that were not bad enough, in response to his demonic appeal, Akiba and company would conceive Judaism in rebuttal. What man of great strength and character, empowered to prevail, my Jeber, who, as the most capable and courageous of men, lives, Chaya, is actually and continually alive, Kal in perfect third-person masculine singular, and, Wa, will not witness, Wa lo, Ara, will not see, Kal in perfect third-person masculine singular, death as a result of the plague, moth, dying from the pandemic disease which infects and destroys a great many people, Peel in perfect third-person masculine singular. Saving his soul, Malat Nipeshu, delivering and sparing his consciousness, rescuing his inner nature, Peel in perfect third-person masculine singular, from the hand and influence, Min Yad, from the effects and acts, of Shaul, question him, the Benjamite wolf in sheep's clothing who as a result of being demon-possessed changed his name to reflect his affinity with Rome, becoming Paul, the principal author of the Christian New Testament, the father of lies and the son of evil. Pause now and consider what this implies, Selah, take the time required to contemplate the implications. Mizmor/lyrics to sing/Psalm 89 verse 48. Every verb, and there were 4 in this question, was scribed in the third-person masculine singular, designating a single man as the subject. And he is the one initially presented as a Jeber great man, a person of courage and character, imbued with the strength to prevail. God is, therefore, addressing his son who is very much alive. And while he would experience the death of his corporeal body twice, once from old age and the other at the torturous hands of Rome, mankind's most acclaimed civilization, his soul endures. It has and will never experience death. Moreover, Dowd is the antidote for the toxic venom spewed from Shaul's Paul's poison pen. He was not only immune to the plague of death, but he is also providing the antibodies with which to fight the viruses of Christianity and Judaism. So, while many are saved by what he accomplished, he is the only one who offers salvation. Let's be clear, this is addressing Shaul, the man, not Shaul, the place. Shaul does not have hands or influence. This place of separation can neither plague us nor kill us. In fact, Shaul, as the place of eternal incarceration, is the antithesis of death for those who endure it. As a black hole, nothing reaches out from Shaul. However, it was the hand of Shaul which wrote the 14 epistles which have plagued mankind. It is under his influence that Christianity was conceived and popularized among Gowan. He is the master manipulator behind diminishing Dowd's influence, the hand that has sought to denigrate the Messiah, Son of God, and Passover lamb such that he could replace him. Shaul Paul has plagued far more people than the billions of souls who were coerced or beguiled into placing their faith in the religion he fathered at the behest of Satan. Without the son of evil and the father of lies, Gowan would not have come to blame or hate Jews sufficiently to cause Rome, which was where Paul's allegiance lay, to massacre and enslave the chosen people, robbing Yehudim of their homeland. The Roman Catholic Church, which was based on Paul's letters, would not have propagated the anti-Semitic culture and conspiracies which culminated in the Holocaust without Paul's jealousy and covetousness. Muhammad, likewise, would never have succeeded in establishing a religion predicated upon anti-Semitism without the foundation laid by his predecessor. And without Paul's propensity to promote a cult following and promulgate ignorance and irrationality such that they became commonplace, and indeed, established as politically correct, the growth of multicultural socialist secular humanism would have been truncated in the West. The entire impetus behind liberal politics was sanctioned by Paul on behalf of the Romans to impose and integrate religion and government. Shaul Paul has become the chosen people's fiercest and most embittered adversary. He is responsible for the death of more souls than anyone who has ever lived. To escape his grasp is difficult, and often impossible, as the integrated religious and political scheme he concocted, read Romans 13, has tread upon the entire world, suppressing truth and impeding freedom. He will endure eternity in Sheol, and his replacement theology will die at the hand of Dowd, the man whose life and lyrics he sought to disparage. And while I have begged for the opportunity to convict him, it's Mizmor like this which will be brought to bear against him. Dowd will get the debate he has sought. And the outcome is written in stone. Shaul will become synonymous with the place whose name he shares, Sheol hell. Where, Ayah, posing a rhetorical question regarding an individual's position, is your unwavering love and enduring favoritism, Chesed Ada, your devotion to the familial relationship and unfailing kindness, your genuine affection and merciful treatment, which was expressed first and foremost in the beginning, Rishon, as the initial priority, as the most important consideration of what was occurring from the start, preceding this and of old, which you promised, Shabbah, you truthfully. Proclaimed and affirmed as part of your binding oath on 7 occasions, to Dowd the beloved, La Dowd, to love and be loved in return, in harmony with your steadfast commitment to being trustworthy and reliable, immuna, Ada, by way of your honesty and dependability, by being completely truthful, genuine, and real such that you can be trusted and relied upon, my upright one, Down any. My upright pillar, addressing the vertical beam which secures and enlarges a home, especially the tent of the enduring witness. Mizmor/lyrics to sing/Psalm 89 verse 49. When we read a question in an inspired text such as this, the prophet not only knows the answer, but he has already provided it. Such is the case here with immuna trustworthy and dependable presented throughout Dowd's song and repeated within this question. Therefore, because Yahowah is consistent and forthright, he is reliable. The things which he has favored from the beginning are the things he loves. These would include being creative and enjoying an active and conversational relationship with humankind in a pristine environment. And since the formation of the Beryth covenant with Abraham and Sarah is the dominant theme of Beryth Genesis, the family is Yahowah's first love. This is underscored by the realization that the remainder of the Torah is focused on liberating the children of Yisra'el from human religious and political oppression, then teaching and guiding them so that they might come home and live with their father. However, since it takes 2 to tango, and Yisraelites could not refrain from stumbling over themselves in a nauseating fashion, are returned to his original preference, which was to form and enjoy an individual and personal relationship with one man. God chose Dowd the beloved. He became his Bakar firstborn son. And through this single solitary life, the entire story of Yisra'el and the covenant is relived, retold, and resolved. Rather than give up on people, God worked alongside the best among us. And even then, as it was with Adam, he was unsteady, at one moment soaring into the heavens and in the next stumbling on earth. But this time would be different because of the attributes Dowd manifested. He was brilliant and articulate, a voracious reader and voluminous writer, God's most learned student and most effective teacher. Dowd achieved where Adam failed. He not only paid attention and valued Yah's advice, but he also understood it and shared what he had come to comprehend with us. Under Dowd's guidance, Yisrael was united in God's home. They were protected and thrived, at least until they lost focus and stumbled once again and fell. This time, however, Dowd, recognizing that he had become part of the problem, solved it once and for all. He realized what has taken us a score of years to learn, although, to our credit, we are the first since Zechariah and Malachi to share his conclusion with his people. While confirming the covenant on Moriah, and in the midst of a discussion between father and son, Dowd understood that there had been a promise. He recognized that in the Yahbel year of 2000 Yah, as a harbinger of Passover, God said that he would provide the lamb. Dowd further realized that the Pesach Isle had also been instrumental in providing life and liberty for the children of Yisrael in Mitzrayim. He read that on Matzah, they had walked out of the realm of religious and political oppression. He saw that they were reborn into the covenant as they emerged from the sea. And as a bright lad, he rightly concluded that the Torah's enriching enlightenment had been initially offered during Shabuah. The stage was set for the fulfillment of the first 3 micro-EY at a later date, presumably 40 Yahbel from the day of the promise in year of 4000 Yah. Having written the ultimate treatise on the Torah in his 119th Mizmor, Dowd would have understood as we have, that with the fulfillment of the first 3 mode, the benefits of the Beryth would be assured. So, he manned up, Jibboared in God's parlance, and volunteered to do the right thing. His Basar corporeal body became the Passover lamb while his Nepesh soul carried Yisrael's guilt into Sheol, depositing it there, never to be seen again. The father's firstborn was Bikor Ahmed, living up to his title while fulfilling Chag Matzah. The covenant was now firmly established. Its benefits were reliably provided. Problem resolved. Thanks to father and son, those who accept their gift would live forever, perfected and adopted, enriched, and empowered. The Jiba would prevail given 3 lives, his soul and ours saved. Heaven's door was opened. Our relationship was reconciled. We were invited back into the Gan Eden. Since he clearly understood what I'm sharing with you, I'd like to quote my favorite prophet. For indeed, KY, because truly, emphasizing this statement while revealing an important contrast, a child, yelled, a boy, an infant who grows up to become a man, from Yalad, brought forth, was born, Yalad, was conceived and brought into view through a woman impregnated by the father of the child at a moment in time, pure perfect passive, before us, La, Anaknu, 2, 4, and among us, a son, Ben, a male descendant, the masculine offspring of a mother and father, was provided as a gift. And placed, Nathan, was given and produced at a point in time, appointed and bestowed, Nifel perfect passive, concerning us, La, Anaknu, on our behalf, regarding our approach. The opportunity to learn what can be known about how to engage and endure in addition to the responsibility and authority to lead, Wa Misra, sovereignty, from I, to ponder the implications of Sarah, having the power to exert oneself, to contend, to persist, and to persevere, was and will be, Wa Haya, has been, continues to be, and will actually exist with ongoing implications, Cal imperfect active, on his shoulder and predicated upon the eagerness in which he pursued his calling early. In his life, Al-Shikam who, on his back based upon a continued succession of events transpiring upon his ridgeline. His name, reputation, and renown, Washem who, his personal and proper designation, has been read and recited as, Kara, was invited and summoned as, was called out and welcomed as, was met with and proclaimed as, and was read aloud and announced as, Cal Perfect, a counselor providing valuable advice, Yahweh/Yahs, one who offers direction and thought-provoking guidance to deliberate, an analyst who proposes and reveals the purpose of the plan, a mentor who speaks out and urges those Who listen to follow his guidance and thinking because it is thoughtful and reasonable, who is astoundingly brilliant and amazingly insightful, Pele, who is marvelous, wonderful, and distinguished, surpassing all others, set apart and separating, influential and fantastic, as well as prophetic, a valiant and heroic individual with a prominent military and political standing in the community, the most capable, competent, and courageous man, Gibor. A powerful person who prevails, a proven defender, and a champion confirming the influence and strengthening nature of God, El, of the Almighty, an eternal witness providing restoring testimony, Ed, an observant and meticulous individual providing everlasting evidence from long ago, sharing proof which is reaffirming, an eyewitness back in time conveying and memorializing information regarding the perpetual and continued existence, for the father, of the progenitor, originator and male caregiver and provider, the leader who conveys the authorized position, Hasar, the ruler who acts and delivers. Who has the authority and power to prevail with regard to representing the official stance on reconciliation and restoration leading to salvation, shalom, on the blessings of restitution and redemption, on peace and prosperity, on satisfaction and favoritism, on association and friendship, regarding restored health and prosperity, on safety and being complete, regarding lacking nothing, on contentment and companionship, Yashayah/Isaiah 9 verse 6, tremendously increasing, Rab. Abundantly, greatly, and extensively, plentifully and totally, to the largest extent possible on the scale of spatial dimensions amplifying and growing. The ability to learn about and respond to, Lamb, providing the information and imparting the instruction learned as a student, teaching how to become familiar with the guidance needed to accept by diligently studying and then explaining the pattern and plan, as a student eager to learn who is taught by another, having received clear and compelling revelations so as to be prepared to intelligently convey, contracted from Lamed, to teach and learn, gaining information through instruction and then responding appropriately to, the means to engage and endure, to be liberated and empowered, Ha-Misra, choosing to understand by questioning the who, what, where, why, when, and how of that which pertains to persisting and persevering, of being set free and being empowered, a compound of my, to probe and question Sarah, the means to engage and endure, to contend, to be liberated, and to be empowered as Yisra'el. As a result of this approach, YAHOWAH, then adding these things together, collectively, therefore and accordingly, facilitating this direction, reconciliation and restoration, complete satisfaction and total contentment, shalom, the blessings of an entirely favorable circumstance leading to overwhelming prosperity, friendship and affection, tranquility and companionship, safety and salvation from harm's way, as well as deliverance, resulting in a free, healthy, and satisfying relationship. Will be without end, Ein Ketz, will never cease or be negated, and are unbounded and limitless, without constraint, upon the throne, Al-Kais, before the seat of honor in association with the high status of the dignified and empowering garment, the source of power adorning and covering the royal authority, of Dowd, the beloved, as well as, in addition, upon his kingdom through his considered advice and counsel, Al-Mamlaka who, as a result of his sovereign authority and reign over his realm, and on account of his thoughtful guidance and assistance, from Malik, to reign by providing considered and intelligent advice and instruction, directions and counsel, so as to be prepared and established by it, Lakun, High, authenticated and authorized by it to become steadfast, ready and supported through it, deciding and concluding to approach regarding it, Hyphal infinitive, and, to be restored and sustained by it, Sayadhu, to be renewed and upheld through it, to be strengthened and supported by it, and to make it safe and secure. Refreshing it with the most favorable and nourishing sustenance, with the means to exercise good judgment and justly resolve disputes, Ba Mishpat, as part of a plan to decide, as a prescription based upon an official proclamation depicting how the judge will determine each case, remaining completely fair and yet consistent, from to ponder the implications of Shapat, deciding, judging, being discriminating, and resolving controversies, by Ba, being right, Tzedakah. Being correct, fair, and just, acquitting and vindicating, honest and blameless, innocent and in full accord with the standard. From then to now, Min, Ada, beginning congruent with the events being depicted, right now and thus coinciding with this narration, simultaneous with this rational declaration, and forevermore, Ad Aulam, throughout all time, eternally. The deep devotion and passion, China, the zeal and fervor for exclusivity, strong desire to accomplish something special, and ardent love and jealousy, of YAHOWAH, of the vast array of spiritual implements, Saba, of the host of heavenly messengers and envoys, has consistently engaged to make this happen, Asa Zoth, has caused this to continuously occur, having always done what was required, such that he will act accordingly to accomplish this, fashioning this result, continuing to perform in this way, Qowl imperfect. Yashayah/Isaiah 9 verse 7. Yashayah and the Mizmor are hand and glove. They are most useful when brought together. And so, it is from that perspective the Song of the Sun elucidates Isaiah's most acclaimed prophecy regarding the Son of God. The poem of insights to contemplate and comprehend by being circumspect by Ithan the productive and established, profuse and enduring Ezraki beloved native-born strong arm who is cherished, concludes. My upright one, Idown, Eni, my upright pillar and foundation, addressing the vertical beam which secures and enlarges a home, especially the tent of the enduring witness, you remember and have chosen to mention that you are mindful of, Zakar, you recall and never forget to proclaim the truth, Qowl imperative, the contemptible and condescending taunts and the dishonorable and deplorable decrees which were determined, Chirpa, the disgraceful slurs and harmful insults, the reprehensible decisions and supposedly authorized judgments which were appalling, Peel perfect, by all of the many nations and preponderance of the people, Kol Rabim Am, by the totality of the human family, by every ethnicity, and by the most exalted of countries, against those who work with you, Ebed Ada, your co-workers, associates, authorized individuals, and servants who labor along with you, which I have now brought to bear. Nasa, Eni, I have carried forward and have endured, in my best judgment. Ba. Heck. From my chest, which is the place my core values reside. Mizmor 89:50. That is because, Asher, revealing their relationships and way, those in open opposition to you, Ada, your enemies and adversaries, those who show their animosity, enmity, and rancor toward you, YAHOWAH, YAHOWAH, an accurate transliteration of the name of Eloah, God guided by his Torah, instructions regarding his Haya, existence and our Shalom, reconciliation, are insulting with their bewildering derision and improperly discerned contempt, so as to discredit in an abusive manner, Asher Cheref, they are defiant and evil, causing people to think irrationally, confounding them through blasphemy, Peel perfect, the footsteps, Akeb, the unwavering and reliable movements and willingness to dig in his heels, of Mashiach Ada your Messiah, Mashiach Ada, your anointed. Mizmor 89:51. Blessed by having knelt down in love to lift up is, Barak, commended and favored are the circumstances and result of the excellent words and example of, YAHOWAH, YAHOWAH, forevermore, La'olam, for all eternity. This is trustworthy, verifiable, and reliable, Amon wa Amon, this is correct and true, affirmed and supported, established, readily acceptable, clearly stated, and dependable. Mizmor/lyrics to sing/Psalm 89 verse 52. There is one Mashiach Messiah and Ben, El Son of God, and he is Dowd beloved. He is Yahuwah's Bahar chosen Ebed co-worker, and Ad Olam eternal and restoring witness, and our Melech king. This Mishal articulate leader is the Gibor God's most competent and courageous man, our Yasha, Savior because he is the Areah shepherd and Zeroah, sacrificial lamb. Many would lead God's people astray, but one would save them. Many have been wrong, but one was right. Our questions have all been answered, but one remains for you. What are you going to do about it? But now, you, yourselves, have refused to accept, creating a foul stench by snubbing, Zanak, such that, you have rejected by diminishing the merit of, even spurning over time by repudiating the essence of, Ma'az, improperly, and on your own initiative, meddling while presumptuously passing over, Abar, Ada Mashiach your Messiah, I'm Mashiach Ada. Mizmor 89:38. You have repudiated and renounced, Na'ar, the covenant, Beryth, with your co-worker, Ebed Ada. You have dishonored and defiled, Chalal, his dedication and devotion, Nezerhu, to the land, Laha, Eretz. Mizmor 89:39. You have broken down and destroyed, Peretz, his entire sheepfold and all of its walls, Kol Gadrahu. You have caused, Sim, the undoing, the degradation and destruction, Machada, of his fortifications, Mipsarhu. Mizmor 89:40. All who pass by this way, Kol, Abar Derek, plunder him, Shasashu. He has become, Haya, he is, scorned and abusively ridiculed, defied and upbraided, Chirpa, by those who claim some affinity with him, Lashakenhu. Mizmor 89:41. You have lifted up and exalted, even helped justify, Rome, the upper hand, Yamim, of his foes and adversaries, especially those who try to constrain and limit him, Zar. You have caused all those who demonstrate animosity and rancor toward him, Kol Oyeb, to be delighted, Samak. Mizmor 89:42. What's worse, and adding to the resentment, you are turned around again, Shub, having assaulted, besieged, bound up, and constrained the rocky crag, Sur, of his battle for Choreb who, such that, you do not stand with him or support him, Kyum who, in this conflict over yeasted bread, Ba ha milchama. Mizmor 89:43. You have truncated, causing a cessation to all of the work as if a Sabbath to do nothing, Shabat, thereby removing and taking away from, Min, his purifying brilliance and means to restore, along with his glorious status, Taharhu. And his position of honor, dignity, brilliant adornment, powerful presence, and throne, Wakais, who, you have hurled to the ground, Lamager ha Eretz. Mizmor 89:44. You have cut short, so as to deprive yourselves of what is required to reap the benefits of the harvest, Katsar, during the time, Yaumim, when his robust presence was concealed and vigorously obscured as a young man in the past and now affecting the future, Olumimhu. You have covered over him, veiling him, Ada, Alhu, shamefully by diminishing his status in a dismissive and dishonorable fashion, Busha. Take a moment and consider the implications, Selah. Mizmor 89:45. For how long, Adma, YAHOWAH, will you remain hidden, concealed, and virtually unknown, a secret to many, Sathar? Your righteous indignation, overt displeasure, and furious antagonism, Kima, Ada, is kindled and burns, Bar, eminently and prominently for an enduring period, La Netzach, like fire, Kamo Esh, similar to burning flames. Mizmor 89:46. Your will is to recall this information and these events to me, asserting these truths, Zakar Eni, to ask about the duration of life in this world and temporary things by contrast to eternity, especially to explain how time flows differently relative to the observer to appreciate how long will things continue to transpire in this world at the present pace, Machild. Was it for nothing but the resulting religious vanity, Al-Mashawa, that you created, Bara, each of the sons of Adam and humankind, Kol Beni Adam? Mizmor 89:47. What man of great strength and character, empowered to prevail as the most capable and courageous of men, my Jeber, lives, Chaya, and, will not witness, lo Areya, death as a result of the plague, Moth, saving his soul, Malat Nipeshu, from the hand and influence, Min Yad, of Shayol. Pause now and consider what this implies, Selah. Mizmor 89:48. Where, Aya, is your unwavering love and enduring favoritism, Chisat Ada, which was expressed first and foremost as the initial priority from the beginning, Rishon, which you promised, Shaba, to Dowd the beloved, La Dowd, in harmony with your steadfast commitment to being trustworthy and reliable, Imuna Ada, my upright one, Idown Eni. Mizmor 89:49. My upright one, Edown Eni, you remember and have chosen to mention that you are mindful of, Zakar, the contemptible and condescending taunts and the dishonorable and deplorable decrees which were determined, Chirpa, by all of the many nations and preponderance of the people, Qowl Rabim Am, against those who work with you, Ebed Ada, which I have now brought to bear, Nasa Eni, in my best judgment, B.A. Hek. Mizmor 89:50. This is because, Asher, those in open opposition to you, Oyeb Ada, Yahowah, Yahowah, are insulting with their bewildering derision and improperly discerned contempt, so as to discredit in an abusive manner, Asher Cherith, the footsteps, Akeb, of Mashiach Ada your Messiah, Mashiach Ada. Mizmor 89:51. Blessed by having knelt down in love to lift up is, Barak, Yahowah, Yahowah, forevermore, La Aulam. This is trustworthy, verifiable, and reliable, established, correct, and acceptable, Amon wa Amon. Mizmor/lyrics to sing/Psalm 89 verse 52. We have completed our reading of Dowd's song, but we are just beginning to appreciate its implications. Yada Yahowah.